y'all, and welcome back to episode 2 of season 3. This is our series over the flame lineages, Atlantis, Lemuria. I really hope you guys enjoyed the introductory episode. We went over the original flame covenant, we went over dream restoration versus dream collapse, the remembrance of joy as a sacred force, why right now in history is important, the journey from dream to distortion to remembrance, and the return of the flame bearers. In this episode, we are going to continue on that journey. We're going to talk about the oversoul versus the higher self, the flame lineages, the flame covenants, the flame holder identities that struggle, and signs of flame awakening. Again, this is supposed to set the foundation for us before we get into our conversation about Mu and Lemuria and Atlantis. And then we're also at the end going to talk about the Lyran Wars, because we need to understand these things in order for us to figure out how we got here with all the distortion and control and corruption that we're experiencing in our lives today. So that's what this series is about. Again, this is something that was recorded live a while ago. I hold my live sessions on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. That is 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Right now, we're kind of in a breaking period. That's why I'm posting these episodes for those who love the podcast. And before we start our new series, which is the New Earth Spiral. So this is supposed to help us to correct our lineage when it comes to our star lineage. So again, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. This is episode 2. Let me know what you guys think. Child, I'm frazzled. All right, so today we're going to be continuing our conversation over Atlantis. Hey, D. Yes, girl, I'm over here struggling for real. I done got it fixed slightly, but that's all you're going to get from me today at this point. Hey, Hydra. Hold on, let me go back up and say hi to my people real quick. Hey, Marge. I am live and well. Okay, so today we're going to continue our conversation about Atlantis and Lemuria. But again, remember, in these first couple episodes, I'm just laying the foundation. So today, what we're going to talk about is the Oversoul and comparing the Oversoul to the higher self, because I feel like a lot of people know what the higher self is, but they don't necessarily know what the Oversoul is. So, hey, Nicole. They don't necessarily know what the Oversoul is. So I'm going to be talking about that today. I'm also going to be talking about flame lineages, meaning like some of the energy that some of us carry. She would leave my door wide the fuck open. Anyways, some of the lineages that some of us carry, some of the energy that we carry. I'm going to talk about flame covenants because they go in these specific groups. I'm excited too, girl. I'm going to talk about flame holders, identities that tend to struggle in this reality, which I'm half of them, because y'all carry multiple flames. And then we're also going to talk about the signs of you going through a flame awakening. Before next time, we're going to talk about lineages through blood, like the blood lineages here on Earth and what codes they carry, what they're here to do, all of that. Hold on. I look like a light bright. Let me turn this. Maybe. This is what we're going to have to do, because at this point, I don't want to look about yellow as hell. So y'all going to have to bear with me because I don't got my tan on yet. All right. So that's where we're going to start today. Hey, Rhonda. That's what we're going to talk about today. That's where we're going to start today. Again, this is going to be on YouTube because I went ahead and, oh, thank you, Shay. The nails are gorgeous. Hold on. Let me show them up top. Y'all down here. Sheen. I think I paid maybe $5 for these. Thought I was gonna hate them, ended up loving them. Really, really cute, you know, really cute. Anyways, so yeah, so I'm excited about this because I feel like wasn't here last time, but this sounds good. I think I'll stay, period. The first session is on my YouTube if y'all want to catch it there, but this is gonna be on YouTube afterwards. So yeah. That's what we're doing today. If you are in my Patreon, in my Soul Tribe, I will be answering questions there. I won't answer questions in the chat just because it's going to be a little too overstimulating. I feel like, you know, when I try to keep up with the chat, it just distracts from the message. So after I get done saying what I need to say, I'm going to go to my Soul Tribe on Patreon. And if y'all have questions, drop them there and I'll be answering those questions. Okay. And then again, this is going to be live on YouTube. So YouTube, if you see me looking up, it's only because TikTok is up there. Okay. I'm sorry. I promise you not the redheaded stepchild. I promise. I'm just used to being on TikTok opposed to YouTube. So just bear with me as I transition through this. Okay. So And I think I have more people on TikTok right now than I do YouTube, but I promise you I'm gonna try to stay a balance between them both. Okay. So last time, just to do a recap, we talked about hell, what did we talk about last time? We talked about the original flame covenant, which is the vow that we all took of sovereignty. We talked about dream restoration versus dream collapse, meaning like we are at a threshold right now in history where we can either restore what this place used to be, or it will collapse and just fall into hatred and narcissism and all that type of stuff. Hey, Maris. Um, we talked about the remembrance of joy as a sacred force and how joy basically weaves light back into the timeline. Hey, Catalia. We talked about why it's important to be incarnated right now. We talked about the journey of dream to distortion back to remembrance. And then we talked about the return of the flame bearers, right? We talked about the return of the flame bearers. Thank you, Nicole. I love you too, girl. Hey, Divine Wisdom. So we talked about all of that in the last episode. If you want to see that, that's on YouTube. All right. Since on the last episode, we left off with the return of the flame bearers. Now I'm going to talk about the flame lineages. And of course, there are infinite amounts. I'm not going to be able to go through all of them because then we'll be here for fucking ever. But I'm going to go through the main ones that you need to understand right now. Okay. So before I do that, let me talk about the Oversoul. This are the flame bearers dragons. No, I mean there are, okay, there are, but some people are carrying dragon lineages. But no, flame bearers are us, meaning like we all were sparked into existence. You know, all of us carry light in our chest. All of us carry a flame. So if you ever seen like the child's movie Soul and how they had to go stand in front of it, you know, that's what that is. Okay. So the flame lineages are us. We carry the flame lineages, and we don't just carry one, we carry a multitude of different lineages. All right. So I'm going to talk about the main ones today without getting into specifics. And then next time we're going to talk about bloodlines, because bloodlines are different than flame lineages, because flame lineages are soul level initiation, soul level energy. You know, I'm loving this conversation, period. But it's soul level energy opposed to ancestral energy, you know? So I think we need to talk about the star part of us, the soul part of us first, before we get into talking about ancestral bloodlines, the codes we carry with that, because we chose the bloodlines that we incarnated into because they hold the codes that we needed to activate through our flame. You know what I'm saying? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the role of the mama and the daddy and what they play and all of that. Hey, unchecked box. So let's get started. Let me do my little ritual real quick. Clear out any negative energy that we need to clear out real quick. And then we can, damn it. You know what? You can count on me to fuck some shit up. I done dropped the damn sage, but it's okay. We can use dragon's blood. This is just to clear the energy. Dragon's blood is good for getting rid of bad habits and stagnant energy. Good for wisdom as well. So dragon's blood is the red one. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. Good. Hey, nothing's true. Okay, hold on. All right, that was enough because I already did some before I hopped on. Said what I need to say before I hopped on. I just wanted to sage because I had a client before this and I was doing a reading. You know, when you're doing readings, people's spirits be coming through. All righty. So let's talk about the oversoul versus the higher self. And when I talk about this, I'm just going to put it as simple as possible. I'm going to keep it simple, stupid. I don't want to throw too much at y'all at one time. So the oversoul versus the higher self. The oversoul is very, very different than the higher self, but these two things are deeply connected. Okay. The oversoul is basically located. The location of the oversoul is in the upper spiritual realms. Okay. It's outside of time and linear incarnation. So I don't know if you've ever studied Ifa or anything like that. You know, you have your Ori, which sits kind of right above you. And then you have the part of your soul, I forgot what it's called, that is in heaven. It's like that same concept. So your oversoul is what resides outside of time in linear incarnation, okay? Meaning like it exists outside of everything that we're experiencing right now, all right? The role of it is to hold the totality of all of your lifetimes, your missions, your flames, your timelines. So it knows everything about you because you were created out of it. So you can think of your oversoul as being like the sun and you being like a ray that's coming off the sun, if that makes sense. That's the way that I understand it. That's the way that I want to teach it, because to me that makes sense, you know. So it holds the totality of all your lifetimes, your missions, your flames, your expression. The function of it is designed, it designs your soul's blueprint across dimensions and timelines, meaning like it's like the architect, you know. The voice of it is that calling that you get, that burning inside your soul that you need to be doing more, that you have a deeper purpose. That is your oversoul communicating with you. Okay. You gain access to it through remembering. You have to do the shadow work, y'all. When you do the shadow work and you get all the trauma out the way, you start to unlock your DNA. You start to resonate higher. You start to vibrate higher, right? Which means you're getting more light in your body. So it's activating your DNA. I just started, Queen. So I'm just talking about the oversoul. So just a quick recap: it's located outside of this physical realm. It's in the upper spiritual realms. It holds the totality of your lifetimes, your missions, your flames, your expression. The voice is that calling or that burning that you get, that you're supposed to be doing more. That's how it communicates with you. And it's accessed through remembering. It's accessed through embodiment, meaning like you have to authentically become yourself. If you want to get access to it, you have to authentically become yourself. And technically on your 33rd birthday, that is when you're supposed to be embodying your oversoul, which is a conversation for another time. Okay. But soul work, making sure that you're doing work that's aligned with who you actually are and what you actually want. Kind of like an Akashic record, yes, but Akashic records are more like dream libraries, which we talked about in the last episode. But it's like the Akashic record of your soul, though. Yes, nothing is true. But also spiritual maturity, which you reach spiritual maturity on your 33rd birthday. That's why they say Jesus died and came back on his 33rd birthday. Like 33 is a big number in spirituality. Really, it was a rebirthing ritual, like death and rebirth ritual. We'll talk about that in another episode too. But the tone of it, it feels vast. It feels ancient. It feels activating. It's almost like a cosmic mirror of your flame. When my oversoul talked to me, it literally sounded like God was speaking in my head. It was very intense. And I don't think I had ever experienced at that time anything that felt that true or that pure. It was like, I knew for a fact, this is a higher being. Like, I didn't know what it was. It kind of jump scared me a little bit. I jumped up out of meditation, like, hold up, girl. I don't know what's going on, but why this don't feel like my voice? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that, right? Hey, eternity, back to you, my love. That's how it feels. It feels like it's just way beyond you, way bigger than you in a way. All right. And then it governs your entire soul lineage, your sacred contracts, and your multidimensional embodiment. Okay. Now your higher self is located closer to you. It sits right above, it hovers right above your aura, and your aura goes out 6 feet. Okay. So it hovers right above your aura. It's the closest to your current incarnation. Okay. Meaning like your higher self is like your guide in this incarnation, but your higher self was not your guide in the last incarnation, but your oversoul was still the same, if that makes sense. Okay. The role is to act as your personal guide and your inner compass. The function is to help you to navigate this life with clarity and alignment. Hey, Ari. The voice is that inner knowing, that gentle but firm understanding or certainty that you have when you're in a moment. So it's like almost like you feel like, you know what, this actually feels true. It's like that. When I'm talking to my higher self, it sounds like my voice. It sounds like I'm talking. So sometimes when I'm in meditation and that voice comes to start talking, I think I'm the one that's talking, if that makes sense. And if I interrupted, I'm like, oh shit, that's not me. But it was so good, I done jumped in like, yeah, that's, but then I'm like, oh shit, I'm separate from that voice. I hope that makes sense. Like, it sounds like your voice. It sounds like you're just talking in your head, but it's not. So like, those moments when you like walking around your house and you talking to yourself, you're talking to your higher self. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to your higher self. Okay. Now, the tone is going to be supportive. It's going to be protective. And it's also going to be wise. My higher self told me a lot about, what I was experiencing trauma-wise and what I needed to let go, why I had separated from my dad, because I didn't know why I wanted to separate. I just knew that every time I talked to him, I was triggered. Hi, Nidia. I was triggered, so I was just like, okay, like I need to figure something out. And my higher self is the one who brought it to the forefront, but it needed me to understand certain things first, okay? Hey, Anissa. But my oversoul told me, feel your pain, made all of my shit disappear, and, was helping me to move pain out of my body, okay? Now, it governs this life's lessons. It governs relationship. It governs karma. It governs awakening. Okay. So higher self is like the flame that you hold in a lantern, whereas your oversoul is the eternal flame that put the light in the lantern, if that makes sense. So your higher self is your God in this life. Your oversoul is the architect of your entire soul's journey. Okay. Now, your oversoul does have tiers, meaning like not everybody has the same oversoul. Meaning like not everybody's supposed to do the same thing with their oversoul. So I'm just going to kind of break down the tiers of the oversoul, and then whatever resonates with you most is what resonates with you most. Okay. I'm only taking questions in my soul tribe tier, y'all. So if I don't see your question, I'm sorry. It's just a lot going on. A lot of people are responding, you know? So some of y'all's oversouls are called an anchor spark. And an anchor spark is a soul who only holds one strong quality, meaning like they're either a healer or a nurturer or a protector, right? And they have like a more focused carry of frequency. All right. So anchor spark. Next, you have a bridge spark. And a bridge spark is a soul that connects two or more energies together. So maybe the heart is connected with the stars, the earth is connected with the dream. You know, they're basically translators and balancers. Like they're kind of like portals in a way, like between two worlds, if that makes sense. Then you have a full spectrum spark, and that's going to be a soul who embodies multiple streams, meaning they could be water, earth, fire, air, aether, you know. So a lot of us newer people, you know, I feel like the anchor sparks might be older energy, whereas a lot of us newer are hybrids, right? So that full spectrum spark. So basically what you are is a living convergence point. You're trying to bring all this energy into balance, all this energy together, right? Then you have a gatekeeper spark. And those are souls who protect the threshold between realities and who hold rare memories and open and close soul gates, right? So they hold rare memories that a lot of people don't hold. And they also open and close soul gates, meaning like when other people are in their presence, they kind of open up different things for them. Okay. Then we have dream architects and living record keepers. Hey, Stony. So we have dream architects and we have living record keepers, and those are souls that weave timelines, that carry blueprints and memories, and they help to reconstruct Earth's grid and soul network. And when I say they help to do these things, understand all we needed you to do was be born. You don't actually have to do anything but be your authentic self. Because when you are your authentic self, you already carry the energy. Nothing is ever done with force through us. Force is the distortion. Okay. Force is the distortion. All you ever had to do was authentically be yourself. And through you doing that, you do the work naturally. Okay. And then the last one is going to be the oversoul embodiment spark. And this is very, very rare, but you carry almost full consciousness of your oversoul within your physical body. And you're meant to wake other people up, but not dominate them. Okay. So you're meant to wake other people up. All right. So that's the oversoul. That's the higher self. Give me a thumbs up. Tap the screen if y'all understand what the difference between the higher self and the oversoul is. Okay, good. TikTok got it. What about y'all, YouTube? Good. Okay, so that's what you need to understand about the oversoul and the higher self, right? So when we talk about a flame lineage, we're talking about the flame that you came from, which means we're talking about the oversoul. Okay, the oversoul is what we're about to talk about. Okay, so the oversoul carries your ray of light that's come. The oversoul is the sun. You are the ray of light coming off the oversoul. Okay, so the flame lineages are your rays of light, and you don't have to just be one ray of light. You can be a multitude of different rays of light. Okay, so what you need to understand about the flame lineages before we get into the different ones is that, sorry, y'all. Each lineage holds a frequency stream that moves through beings, it moves through timelines, it moves through civilizations. Okay. So a lot of us have commonalities based on the generation that we're born into, because we more than likely came from either a similar or same oversoul spark. Okay. But based on the tier that we're at, we could be different. We could be holding multiple, or we could be holding different ones. I hope y'all understood the tiers too, of like what type of oversoul you may have. Okay. Now, one, you need to understand that Like I said, each lineage holds a frequency stream that moves through beings, it moves through timelines, it moves through civilizations. Okay. So that's why sometimes generations feel like they're having the same experience. Okay. Then you have each of them have a flame covenant, which is an ancient soul vow made between source and the flame holder of that lineages. Okay. So we talked about the original flame covenant, which is what most of us made. This is saying, depending on what flame you carry, depending on what energy you carry, soul energy you carry, you made a specific vow on how to carry that energy. Okay. And these are not like religious oaths or anything like that. They are basically living contracts created before distortion ever entered the picture, which is force, which is greed, which is control, which is narcissism, which is hatred, all of those things. Okay. And it's intended to protect creation. Okay. So it's intended to awaken truth. It's intended to serve divine sovereignty. All right. So each lineage has a frequency stream. Each lineage has a flame covenant, meaning like the vow that you took. And then also each flame also has its own set of protectors and allies. So we're going to talk about guardians and stuff today as well. Okay. But each set has its own protectors and allies who can be called upon to anchor, awaken, or defend the flame. And some are elemental, some are starborn, and some are from inner earth as well, depending on what flame you have. Okay. So now that we know that, let's talk about some basic concepts before we get into the lineages. All right. There are three main flame types that we're going to talk about today, which are the lunar flame, the solar flame, the union flames. Okay. My notes. I'm reading from my notes. The lunar flame, and I'm going to just save the questions. If you in my Patreon, I'm going to answer questions. I just saw your question, but anybody else, don't put questions in the chat because I'm not going to answer them moving forward. Okay. Only if you in my soul tribe tier. So flame lineages we're going to talk about today are lunar, solar, and union flames. Okay. But there are other lineages like the rose flame, which is something I carry, earth flame lineages, star flame lineages, the phoenix flame lineages as well, which I'm going to briefly touch on those, but I'm not going to go in deep detail because I just need you to understand these basic ones first. And I don't want to overwhelm the system. It's a lot of information, you know? So first, let's talk about masculine energy and what it's here to do. And then we'll talk about feminine energy and what it's here to do because feminine energy came first. And then we'll talk about masculine. Okay. So I'm not inviting anybody in the live, guys. No point of doing that. I'm not inviting anybody in the live. So the feminine energy is the energy of creation. It's the energy of nurturance. It's the energy of sacred becoming. Okay. Whereas masculine energy is structure, is protection, and is sacred action. Okay. So feminine is creation, nurturance, sacred becoming. Masculine is structure, protection, sacred action. Okay. Feminine energy is cyclical energy, meaning that it kind of works in a spiral and it spirals inwards. It's breathing. Whereas masculine energy is directional energy. Okay. So it's forward, it's penetrating, it's expanding in a way. All right. Feminine energy is consciousness flowing. Okay. So it's generating life. It's emotional. It's about movement. Whereas masculine energy is consciousness holding. Okay. So it's holding form and it's holding space. Okay. Feminine energy is the cosmic womb. It's gestation. It's birthing divine dreams. Whereas masculine energy is cosmic will. Okay. So it's setting and anchoring divine order. Feminine energy holds lunar codes, which is going to be moon tides, mystery, intuition, whereas masculine energy holds solar codes, okay, which is sun, fire, clarity, and radiance. Okay. So moon, feminine, sun, masculine. Okay. So what the feminine is saying is I am love that fills the space and births the world. I birth, nourish, and weave new life into being. Whereas the masculine energy is saying is I will create the space where love can live. Okay. I protect, I align, I bring sacred structure. That is what it's supposed to be used for. But it's been distorted a little bit, which we'll talk about towards the end. Okay. So regardless of if you want to or not, you have both of these energies inside of you. Just depending on what flames you carry is going to determine how much to this side you are versus how much to that side you are, because technically masculine and feminine energy are the same energy. The masculine energy is just a mirror of the feminine energy. Okay, so everything is kind of just on a spectrum, and you're somewhere in between this spectrum. Okay, but they're the same energy, just at different sides. Okay, so because the principle of gender is a thing, it does exist. It means everybody has both masculine and feminine components. They're just at different variations. All right. So the lunar existed before polarity became material. Okay. There was only the primordial flame of reflection, of rhythm and receiving, and it creates through invitation, magnetism, resonance, and memory. Whereas the solar flame was born in response to the lunar flame holding space. Okay. It is a mirror. It's a partner. It's a spark within the womb of stillness. Okay. So think of it like, and I've talked about this on my platforms for the last 2 years now, masculine versus feminine energy, right? Feminine energy is the darkness, is stillness, is gestation, whereas masculine energy is the light. Okay. Let there be light. That was the creation of the masculine energy, the masculine cycle, the solar codes. Okay. So it is truth, is protection. Okay. So let's briefly talk about how creation happened. But this is like, when I say brief, I mean like, this is a drop in the fucking bucket. This is not the whole story. This is just the drop in the bucket. But I need y'all to understand this before I go into the flames. Okay. So first there was darkness, right? Which is the void. That's pre-creation. Before anything was created, there was stillness, there was darkness. That's pure love energy. All right. Lunar was the only type of flame that existed during that time. And it was holding the memory of existence before it was embodied. Okay. Then next came the soul seeding stage, the soul seeding phase. No, I said gestation in darkness. Soul seeding stage. Okay. And in that stage, it was the lunar codes, but it also was the beginning of the solar codes forming. Okay. So consciousness was gestating in the womb like a chamber of oversoul light, meaning like it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't moving, but it was starting to expand, if that makes sense. Okay. Then you have form projections, which all of us are projected into this reality. This is a dream. We're all projected into this reality. So form projection, which is where we get the Earth template, where we get Venusian template, like all of the planets. Okay. That happened, and solar energy emerged fully in that aspect. Then we have outward will also formed, embodiment and initiation of soul contracts came through that third stage. And then the last stage is present day, where we are right now, which is in a polarity system. Okay. We're stuck in a polarity system. So both masculine and feminine, instead of existing together, they're separate. They're split from each other. And we have souls that are over amplified in a way. We have lunar suppression, which means that the feminine codes have been suppressed because, I mean, if you look at society, I ain't got to tell you why. Y'all, I'm not going to invite y'all in the live. You don't have to, don't ask to join. I'm not going to invite you in. Okay. So well, we're going to get to what to do, my love. You got it. Like, I'm setting the foundation in these first couple of episodes. That's what I said in the last episode. That's what I said at the beginning of this episode. We are setting the foundation. You have to understand first before you can do anything. That's you trying to use your masculine before you even understand what you're doing. Right? So let me lay the foundation, and then we're going to get to what to do. Y'all be in such a rush. Slow down a little bit. Okay? So the lunar codes are suppressed right now, right? Which is what right now where we at, and why it's so important in history is because that they are coming back online. Right now we're in this state of seeking to come back into union with each other, right? Because we're remembering that fire does not have to mean force. Okay. Fire can be gentle. It can be rhythmic. It can be reflected. It can be rooted in knowing, which is how it was in Atlantis, because we lived underneath the union flame in Atlantis. Okay. Meaning like everything was in harmony. But the reason why they have to the reason why they erased Atlantis from our memory, from our history, is because if we understood that we used to live in unity and harmony, why would we need greed? Why would we need hatred? Why would we need patriarchy? Why would we need hierarchy? Right? So where we are in history, or where we have incarnated at this time, and why it's so special, is because Earth is waking up. Earth has reached a high enough consciousness, because we've reached a high enough consciousness, but Earth itself has reached a high enough consciousness to start to activate some of these grids again that we used to, that basically cracked and fractured. We basically been in a coma on life support, and now we starting to wake up. Okay. Now, the return is happening right now, but it's going to require us to heal the trauma of solar dominance, which is control, which is urgency, which is burnout. Okay. We were never supposed to go all the way towards the solar. We were supposed to exist in balance with both of them. Okay. So right now we're inviting the union flame back into the body, which again is how we existed in Atlantean times. All right. So now that we laid that, let's talk about the main 3 flame lineages I wanted to talk about, which is lunar, solar, and then we'll talk about the union flame. I really should have talked more about the rose flame as well, because a lot of us carry that, but I am going to talk about it briefly. Okay. Water break. All right. So first is the lunar flame lineages. Okay. This is the silver flame, was also called the silver flame, womb fire, and the flame of breath and return. Yes, this is going to be on YouTube, y'all. This is the reflective flame of memory, intuition, and restoration. Okay. The essence of this flame is that the lunar flame is the feminine arc of source. It's the feminine side of source. Okay. It is gentle. It is vast. It is mysterious, and it is deeply intuitive. Okay. So think high priestess energy. All right. This is the flame of inner knowing, of subconscious dreaming, of soul remembrance, which means that in order for you to even have soul remembrance, you have to get into the subconscious mind, which is done through dreaming. Okay. And also meditation, ancestral weaving, and healing through softness and shadow, meaning like acceptance, accepting yourself, accepting your trauma, healing through it, working through it, and not taking on revenge. Okay. The frequencies that it carry are going to be the pale violet flame, which is dream memory, ancient wisdom, and soul guardianship. We have the rose gold flame, which is feminine sovereignty, Venetian healing, heart restoration. Then we have opal. Opal is multi-dimensional dream walking, emotional alchemy, sacred water memory. And then we have the silver blue flame, which is stillness, which is reflection, which is crystal guardianship. So some of y'all who have the connection to the crystals, you probably are silver blue. Moon temple memory as well. Okay. Now let me stop and say this real quick. I did an episode on the auric field, and I talked about how the auric field is not just the 7 color, like the 7 main colors that are in the rainbow. Sometimes you can see iridescent colors in the outer fields or whatever. So a lot of times you can see people flame colors on the outer sphere. Okay. And it can look iridescent. It can look opal. It can look blue. It can look whatever. So you can kind of see that in the outer field. So if you didn't watch my auric episode, it's on YouTube. But you can see these in people's auric field. Okay. Depending on how much sight you have. All right. Now, the covenant that was made, or the vow that's made by the lunar flame, is to guard the memory of the dream, to protect the innocence of the soul, to remember even when all people have forgot. So it's almost like, have you ever, the way that I see this, or the way that I experience this, is that I've always been a lover girl my whole entire life. And no matter who I came across and what they did to me, I never thought that my love was the problem. I always said, I'm not going to change the way that I love people just because you weren't able to receive it. And so I would try to go into the next situation with trust, because I refused to close myself because somebody's idiot ass son didn't pick up what I was putting down. Right? That's this. It's protecting the innocence of the soul, the purity of your love. That's what it is. Even when other people forget, you still hold that. Okay? That's lunar flame. Rose flame falls underneath lunar flame, but we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Now, The guardians and the realms that are associated with the lunar flame are going to be Lemuria, are going to be inner earth, are going to be the Venus temple keepers. Okay? Because a lot of us came from Venus and we don't even understand that. You know how they say boys come from Mars, girls come from Venus, or boys come from Jupiter to get more stupid, or girls come from Venus, whatever the fucking saying is. But a lot of us come from Venus. All right? So the Venus temple keepers, and these are the guardians you can call on. I'm going to give y'all specific names in a second because, yeah, I'm like that. All right. But here are some basic guardians you can call on. So the Venus temple keepers, they anchor the rose gold healing codes. Okay. They're associated with pleasure, with beauty, and with divine feminine memory. If you're ever confused about what they do, study the planet of Venus. These are the beings of Venus, the keepers of the temple of Venus. Okay. Then you have the Andean moon shamans. The Andean moon shamans. They're inner earth lunar flame holders, and they keep the crystal womb temples. You can call on them. Okay. You have Amara, which is my oversoul. Amara is her name. Other people, she also goes by the name Amira. When Atlantis fell, she took on the energy of Amira, but her oversoul is named Amara. All right. We have Ashaya as well. We have the Sibyls. I talked about the Sibyls before. Hold on. Do I got the book around here? Oh, mine pulling on that book. But the Sibyls were seers. They were prophets. So a lot of people in the Ifa tradition will talk about the Sibyls. A lot of the temples, the Hercules temples, all of that are the Sibyl temples. The Vatican, the Serpent Lady, that's what that stands for, which are the Sibyls. Okay, they're prophets, prophetess. All right, so the Sibyls, they lived pre-Diluvian times. You can actually look these up on YouTube if you want to learn about them. I think her name is like Oracle of Unduli or something like that. She has some content on it. But also I forgot what the damn lady's name was. Anyways, doesn't matter right now. Okay, so the Sibyls, and also the whale and dolphin priestesses, because whales and dolphins are guardians. Okay, they're not just animals. Okay, so Amara is the high priestess of dreams. Okay, she is the heart of the rose grid. The rose grid is what's coming back online right now. Okay, Ashaya and the moon Sibyls are oracles of remembrance. So if you're struggling to remember, ask them to help you. They're here to keep prophecy and soul truth. Okay, so if you're also struggling to figure out on a soul level what is truth, you can call on Ashaya and the moon Sibyls. Okay, the oceanic star seeds are from Sirius B, and these are going to be the whales and the dolphins. Okay, they are keepers of the dream library, which we talked about dream libraries in our last episode, and they keep the they keep these dream libraries through sound, and they're also the memory singers of dreams. There's another section where I'll talk about them even more, just a little bit more in detail as well. Okay, but then you also have the water dragons, which literally look like a big ass eel with a dragon head, like got the little things and everything in like a little, anyways, spooky. Moon serpents and the dream guardians. Okay, so the water dragons protect the temple of water and the emotional gate as well. Okay, and then the moon serpents, or the Nanga beings, are wisdom of emotional and earth water lines. They hold the sacred sexual transmutation. Okay, it's a little serpent. Okay, now the gifts of people who have lunar codes are dream walking and veil crossing. Okay, so people who tend to astral project or end up in different realms and stuff like that. Okay, or end up in places where people end up being like, you're not supposed to be here. That's veil crossing. Okay, energy healing through tone, through breath, through water. So a lot of singers as well, because your voice activates codes. It heals people. Okay, emotional memory retrieval as well, and then holding space for deep soul rebirth. Okay, you can call on any of the groups that I just gave you for dream restoration, for emotional healing, for soul retrieval. If you feel like parts of your soul have left, if you dealt with some major trauma, 9 times out of 10, parts of your soul have left. And what I mean by that is like when you go through like a near-death experience, and a near-death experience ain't as dramatic as you get in a car accident and you ended up in a coma. Like it could literally be that you was walking down the street and you stepped out into the street and somebody snatched you back because they saw a car coming. That also takes your breath away. That's a near-death experience. Or your parents coming in to beat you and terrify you to death. Parts of your soul will lead back to the astral plane and be like, fuck this shit, bitch, I'm getting out of here. You know? So soul retrieval. Okay. And then protection in the astral realms and sacred feminine empowerment as well. Okay. Thank you, Makana. So protection in the astral realms. Okay. But also sacred feminine empowerment. All right. So names of some guardians, and these are going to be the guardians of your dreams. And these are going to be the guardians of memory. We have Amara, who is the keeper of the rose flame. She protects sacred dream fields and soul memories of Atlantis and Lemuria. If you're interested, call on her. Okay. Ashea, she's one of the moon symbols, but she's the guardian of prophecy and sacred inner vision. We have Nara. Nara is a dream temple priestess from inner earth, and she works with opal light and breath-based soul retrieval. And then you have Aluna, and she is the guardian of crystalline moon rings. She assists in dream walking and emotional timeline healing. Her name is Oluna. Okay. And then the whales and the dolphins act as a collective, and they're keeper of the dream libraries through sound and record keepers of soul lineages as well. That's why they don't want you talking to the motherfucking dolphins. They're the keepers of soul lineages. They don't want you talking to them motherfucking dolphins. That's why it's a federal law. All right. And they communicate through telepathy, by the way. So if you are a person who knows how to use this skill, you won't ever have to talk to them in language. But they learn your language in a matter of 5 minutes. Yeah. Anyways. So next, I want to talk about some lunar lineages that we know through mythology, but they've just been distorted. Okay. But before I talk about that, I got to talk about some concepts real quick. Okay. So just bear with me. But I need to talk about mythology because some of these energies, depending on how you approach these deities or these old gods or whatever, sometimes you do connect with something real. Because your heart, you know, God know my heart. Your heart matters. Your humbleness matters. Okay. So even if it is a distortion, sometimes you bypass that distortion if you operating from the heart. Okay. Not out of desperation, but from the heart. Okay. So let's talk about mythology real quick. And this is the deities, the old gods. And then we're also going to talk about egregores for a second, which are basically like artificial. Y'all have heard me say artificial intelligence, like we'll make artificial entities, right? How you can be driving down the street and somebody cuts you off and you like, fuck you, bitch. I hope all 4 of your tires pop. And then you send the energy their way. That's what an egregore is. It's like a energy that's only created because we believe it. And I'm going to tell y'all what some of the most popular egregores are as well. Okay. But understand this whole live is for entertainment purposes. And I'm cuckoo as fuck. You know? If you know, you know. All right. So first thing we need to get is that some of these egregores, some of these deities or old gods that I'm going to talk about are either distortions. Okay. They're fragmented or they're a filtered version of the energy of these lunar entities that I just talked about. Okay. Which means that some of them have either been demonized, Lilith. Some of them have been demonized. Some of them have been worshipped without fully understanding what they are. And others have been misnamed or hidden in patriarchal retellings of the story. But the energetic origin may trace directly back to the lunar flame lineages or any of its guardians. Okay. So if you have been drawn to any of these deities, you may just be sensing a frequency that is familiar to you or a fractal of your own soul family's frequency. Okay. So a lot of people, I just did a reading for somebody who had a daughter named Isis earlier. Yeah. So you also have to get that when you call on these energies, you are still touching something very real. Divine energy comes through alignment. So if you are representing love or they are representing love and you're coming humbly to align with that energy, you will definitely touch love. You know what I'm saying? It's about heart, it's about alignment, and it's also about you being clear in your intentions as well. Okay. So the name doesn't really matter. The correct frequency will respond to you based off of your intentions, based off of your resonance. Okay. Source knows your heart, and the true flame hears its kin, meaning that if you are resonating with Isis and you go to Isis and it's not out of desperation, it's just out of wanting to get clarity, right? And you're very clear about what the trajectory is, the energy that lies behind the name is going to respond to you, because flame is going to notice its kin. And the moment that you want to know, it wants you to know. What you want wants you. Okay? I'm nutty as well, period. Okay, so now, if you don't feel comfortable with this information, it is okay, like I said, for you to still go back to what you know. You don't have to do anything different, like Hurkati and stuff like that. You don't have to do anything different, because remember what I just said. Your intention matters. Your heart matters. As long as that's there, don't think that you have to do something different. Okay, I'm just giving you the information. Okay, I just asked, when you do approach that energy, you do it with clarity and you do it with intention. So I would say something like, and this is something I would say something like this. I call the true flame. I call the true flame of insert name. So I would say Isis. I call the true flame of Isis in its original source aligned essence. I open this connection only in divine remembrance, clarity, and love. No distortion may enter my field. Okay. No distortion may enter my field. Okay. Now, right intentions matter. Right intentions matter. Okay. Now, I just wanted to say that. That's it. That's all. Do what you want to do. I'm not trying to convince you that anything that you know is wrong, because technically it's not. Everything really is an energy, right? But I'm just asking you to be clear, be intentional. That's it. Okay. But y'all also know I got to give y'all the real. So we're going to talk about egregores as well. We need to talk about the ones that are not the proper energy, the ones that were created. Okay. So, some of these things that were created are just looping your energy back towards you, looping your energy outwards instead of awakening inwards. Because when you are in alignment, your energy awakens from within. Okay. But I have seen people or did readings for people whose family was praying over them, and they was praying to Archangel Michael, and they got a trickster spirit. Now, Archangel Michael is real, but he's a melanated being. He is not what you have been shown. Okay. So that's why you got to be clear and call on his true essence, and he will show up. Okay. I'm not inviting anybody in the live, y'all. I'm not going to answer anybody's invite. Okay. Now, if you call on the wrong energy, it starts looping your energy outward. So I did a reading in a group setting with someone one time, and her grandmother kept praying for her soul, because she was not doing what the grandmother wanted her to do. And so she had something attached to her head that was looping purple violet energy backwards out of her. Right. And she was struggling to make conscious decisions, I believe. So, be careful, be clear in your intentions before you call on any energy outside of you. All right. And also you can also be feeding distorted egregores, meaning like they could be siphoning your energy, or artificial entities. Or you also could be weakening sovereignty by making the soul think that it is less than the being that is trying to invoke. You are not less than anything. You are not less than anything. Some of y'all are so fucking ancient and y'all have no idea. You are not worshiping anything. A lot of these old gods were meant for us to embody that energy, not try to worship it and ask it for something. No, it's telling you what the energy is. You just need to embody it. Okay. So egregores are basically, or artificial entities are energetic constructs formed from human belief, emotion, and repetition. Okay. Some are harmless and others are helpful. Then there are the ones that are distorted beings feeding off of the very worship meant for light. Okay. I hope y'all know where I'm going now. Hold on. Let me light some sage because y'all get real mad at me sometimes. Hold on. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Let me light some sage because I would hate for y'all to get mad at me and start sending me negative energy. Not today, Satan. Okay. Hold on. Wait a second. All right. Let me get my sage. You know what I'm saying? Let me not get y'all out of pocket or nothing. You know? I don't need y'all to be coming for me. I'm a warrior of light. That's it. That's all. You know what I'm saying? All right. Because I ain't about to play with y'all today. Listen. All right. So these can also be made out of fear, out of control, or out of projection of divinity outside of yourself. Okay. When enough energy is poured into an idea, into a symbol, or into a deity, it can form an independent energetic structure by priesthood. This could be done by priesthoods. It could be done, meaning like they tell you that this thing exists, a priest, and you believe him. Okay, that's priesthood. They could be formed by magicians to do their dirty work. I don't know if y'all ever seen Supernatural. Yeah, or power structures, governments. Okay, they tell you this thing exists, you believe it, now it does. Okay, so season 1, episode 17 of Supernatural, the TV show, it's on Netflix. There is a group of people who have basically created this Ghostbusters type of website, right? Or type of blog where they post in paranormal activity. And it's a specific house that they call Hell House, right? And basically this group of people put little symbols in there and they were just basically trying to spook people, right? Drive people to the website. But because so many people were tapping into that blog, it became real. And so it was killing people. And they was like, that's not what I meant to do. But it's because so many people believed that it was real. It created the energy. Go watch that episode and tell me this is fake. All right now, anyways. Now, they are formed through a lack of understanding and used to control and manipulate. And they operate in hollow mimicry of the true essence, meaning they only can mimic. Remember, a distortion can only mimic. It can only mimic. So if you think about Sinners, he was outside, his music was good, but it was missing that thing. It was missing that je ne sais quoi. He can only mimic. He don't have access to the soul, to the flame. That's why he wanted Preacher Boy, because he needed access to the soul and the flame, to the joy, because joy can't be remembered anyways, to the joy, the sacred force that exists inside your chest. Okay? They can only mimic. All right, y'all ain't hearing me. Okay, so the false version can interact with anybody who seeks it. Meaning you call an energy and you're not clear, a trickster can show up. So if you seek it, it can interact with you. All right. It can appear in rituals, even grant power. Because if people are pouring into this idea, it makes it more powerful. So some of these egregores and some of these artificial entities are ancient. They date back to Atlantis. Okay. And because we fed so much energy into it and so many people are interacting with that energy, for example, Hurkati goes back. Hurkati, as we know her today, is a distortion. But Hurkati is ancient. That's why she does it. She's protector of children, right? The deity of witchcraft, right? She is way more than that. You have no fucking idea. Okay? But she's ancient. Ancient. Lilith, same thing. Lilith is not a fucking demon. Okay? But they had to demonize her. Why? Because she represents that untamable feminine energy. They can't have you tapping into that. What the hell? They wouldn't be able to do what they do. You know? That Scarlet Witch energy is Lilith energy. That untamable energy. Yes, Hurkati. She is not what y'all think she is. She is, meaning like not a bad way. She is ancient energy though that you tapping into. She's been distorted in this reality, but she is powerful. Okay. So let me, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Let me get back to the ones that you need to look out for. Okay. So remember I said that they can The false virgins can interact with the seekers. They appear in rituals and they can even grant power, but it does so at a cost, which is feeding on your emotional energy. Your emotional energy is your sacred energy. It is creativity. So your sacred energy is sexual energy, emotional energy, and creativity. They're just expressing the same energy being expressed in different ways. So when you call on one of these energies and you are not clear and the wrong one shows up, it starts to feed on your emotional energy. And that's why all of a sudden you triggered and you having all these thoughts that are bringing up all these old emotions. Right? All right. And redirecting sovereignty outwards, meaning like you are no longer a sovereign being. Okay? Or you're no longer standing in your sovereignty. Okay? So let's talk about some notable ones before we move forward with the ones that are associated with the lunar flame. Okay? Listen, don't come over here playing. All right? So the first one is God is a punisher. God is not a punisher. God is not male either. That is distortion, okay? So this is a false egregore of source created through a millennia of fear, of shame, and of patriarchal control. He is portrayed as distant, as angry, and as male only, as judgmental, and he's used to control behavior, to control sexuality, and to control thought. The only thing you ever had to be was yourself in this reality, whatever it is. The only thing you ever had to be is yourself in this reality, whatever it is. Okay. Now, the true essence that it's veiling, the true essence that it's supposed to represent is source as an unnameable, genderless being of unconditional love. Not even being, energy of unconditional love. Okay. So next we have Satan, Lucifer as the villain. Really, Lucifer is Lux. Lux is the first light being, the first light guardian, but that's a whole nother, we ain't going there because y'all ain't about to listen. So Satan and Lucifer as the villain is distorted through religion as the ultimate evil, originally a being of light and testing, not of torment. So the egregore that formed is a soul trap. The egregore that was formed is a soul trap. It's drawing fear and obsession. But the true essence that it veils is Lucifer as a light bearer. Okay? Now he's split and misunderstood. But Lucifer was one of the first solar energies, one of the first lights. But he predates Jesus. And because he predates Jesus, they had to demonize him. Okay? I'm talking about as a villain, as a villain, as a villain. Okay? Now, next is Christ as a passive savior. Okay? Egregores, which basically the egregore version of Christ as a passive savior is external salvation, right? He will save you without any inner responsibility. That's the distortion. Because you think somebody is coming to save you and you don't take responsibility for your choices, for your actions. Okay. You think somebody else is going to fix it outside of you. And it makes people wait for rescue instead of activating their own flame. Okay. So the true essence that it veils is Christ consciousness as sovereignty, as a loving embodiment of divinity in all. Because what Jesus was saying, or Christ was saying, was be like me, be a balance of both. You don't have to be perfect. You also don't have to be all the way on this side either. Right? So it keeps people from doing anything. It keeps people from rescuing themselves. All right. So next we have Lilith as a demoness. It's a distorted egregore fed by patriarchal fear of feminine power and independence. It appears seductive, chaotic, and punishing. But the true essence that's being veiled is Lilith as a sacred, feminine, sovereign force. She was primal innocence and untamed knowing. That is what she represents. Okay. Next, we have Mother Mary as a submissive virgin. Okay. As a submissive virgin. Mary. Okay. She was created to model shame, obedience, and emotional repression. Her true flame is overshadowed by dogma of purity. The true essence that it veils is Mary as a flame bearer. And we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene, and we're going to talk about Yahshua next time. Okay. Make me remember. If I don't remember, make me remember. Okay. But she is a multi-dimensional teacher, and she is a divine union anchor. Okay. Multi-dimensional teacher, and she is a divine union anchorer, meaning that Yeshua was created as her reflection. Okay. Angels as being fluffy guardians. Angels are not so, not all of them are like, nice. Some of there's such thing as dark angels as well. But the egregore formed through like Hallmark imagery, and it basically creates this idea that these are powerless babysitters. Okay. And it lacks depth, command, and sovereignty. The true essence is that angels are interdimensional sovereign beings of radiant service and fire. Okay. And then the last one is demons as being pure evil. Many demons were gods or spirits from suppressed cultures, demonized by colonization. Okay. So ancient cultures, the ones that we consider to be demons now, were actually gods or spirits from suppressed cultures. Okay. Demonized by colonization. Why? Because they wanted you to believe in one God. They wanted you to believe in monotheism instead of polytheism, which is what they used to believe before the 17th and 18th century. Okay. So they demonized their gods. All right. Some are distorted egregores created through fear-fueled imagination. True essence that it veils is the integration of your shadow side and your soul fragments, which are longing to return to source. Yes. So like the Aztec gods. Yep. Okay. Now you can tell the difference, because you can tell the difference between whether or not you're calling on an egregore or you're calling on a energy in its true essence, because true flame feels expansive. It feels sovereign, right? It is going to invite you to personal power. It is going to empower you. Whereas the opposite does not. All right. It radiates remembrance, meaning like it wants you to remember. When you're ready to remember, it's going to open every door to try to help you to do that. It communicates with clarity. You're not going to be talking in riddles. It's going to communicate to you through clarity, and it's going to leave you feeling whole. Okay. Whereas a distorted egregore is going to feel controlling and draining. And so many, I've had people who are like, yeah, I'm talking to my higher self, but my higher self is a man, and it's telling me this and it's telling me that, and I have to do this. And it's like, hold up. That ain't who you think that is. And sometimes when people pass away and you keep calling on your dad, but you're not specific, your dad in his true essence, sometimes y'all call trickster spirits. And I know it's a trickster spirit because it don't want me to see his face. It's ducking and dodging. Sometimes I can only see his chest. It's blurring so that I can't see it. Hold on, y'all. Objects that are red. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I know they make me do these little confirmations and stuff. Okay. So if it's demanding worship or it's demanding submission, if it's reinforcing separation and fear, meaning that it's telling you something that's bringing you fear, if it's creating confusion and ego, and it's leaving you feeling dependent or depleted, you are absolutely talking to the wrong energy. Absolutely talking to the wrong energy. You are being tricked. It does not matter. You are being tricked, because any energy in its true essence is going to empower you. Everything else is a distortion of this reality. All right. So some of the guardians, again, from the feminine flame, which I think we already talked about all of these, but I'm just going to go through them again. Oh, sorry. This is the mythology. Okay. So the mythology that represents flames that we just talked about as guardians. Okay. So Amara, who represents the rose flame. You have Isis from Egypt. Okay. A lot of y'all are probably rose flame carriers. You have Kuan Yin, I think it is, from the Chinese pantheon. You have Yemaya. Okay. from Yoruba tradition, and they all represent the mother archetype. They all represent healers and protectors of children and dreamers. Okay. Then you have Ashea. Ashea is Hurkati. That's the Greek pantheon. Anana, which is Assyrian, Sumerian. Okay. Anana. You have Mnemosyne, which I think is the Titan pantheon. Okay. But they're gatekeepers of the in-between of prophecy of soul death, because Hurkati is also the crossroads, right? Then you have the whale nation, which is going to be Tiamat from Babylonia. Okay. The great ocean mother, often distorted in myth, but carries deep dream codes. It's the whale nations or the dolphin nations are meant to teach us emotional intelligence, sonic healing, and dimensional travel through waterways. Okay. They're here to hold the song lines and to keep Earth's vibration stable through sound and movement. Like I said, they come from Sirius B. They are star beings. They're not animals. Okay. Yes. Then we have the Venetian flame. The Venetian flame is Aphrodite from the Roman pantheon, Hathor from the Egyptian pantheon, Freya from the Norse pantheon. They all represent sacred feminine essence, beauty, love, and joy as a sacred flame. And then the water dragons, which is going to be the Nanga. The water dragons are the Nangas in Hindu and Buddhist, okay, which are embodied wisdom serpents, garden portals, underwater portals, underworld knowledge, and water temples. Okay, so you do not need to summon them in a ritual like religion. Okay, you call them through your flame, you speak their name, tone, or vibration with respect. Okay, state your need and alignment clearly and sit still and receive. Okay, I know people tell you, you need to be initiated. You need to be, listen. Distortion. Control. Distortion. Okay. Now, we have the solar flames. Now we did the lunar flames. Let's talk about the solar flame. Okay. But first, let me close this damn door because my cat is, you ain't about to have, and I ain't, hold on. I ain't in a proper tire where y'all need to see me like this. Hold on 1 second. Who can come in the house? Letting damn bugs up in here. No, I ain't with the bugs. I don't do bugs. I don't care what flavor they come in. I don't fuck around with that. I'm gonna have to kill them. She better snatch them out the sky, or she ain't doing her damn job. All right. So the solar flame lineages, and this is going to be more masculine centered energy. Okay. They're considered to be the outward breath. Okay. The masculine principle and the will to radiate and give and to ignite. Okay. This is active flame light of creation and sovereign power. Okay. Hold on. Let me readjust myself. Okay. So the essence of the solar flame is it's the masculine arc of source. It's radiant, it's bold, it's directive, it's clear. All right. It is the flame of illumination, of manifestation, of sacred leadership, of will aligned with source and planetary grid activation. Okay. This is the course. I'm going to post these on YouTube. You can always go back and watch this on YouTube. Okay. But this is the course. Okay. So the frequency that it carries is the golden flame, which is sovereign command, its divine structure, and its crystalline wheel. The ruby red flame, which is protective force, sacred rage, blood memory. Okay. Because when we talking about the masculine, we talking more ancestral. The lunar is about star people. Star lineages, divine feminine lineages, things that came before this physical reality. Whereas the masculine side is more about the physical, the ancestral to that planet, if that makes sense. Okay. Amber orange, which is the creative fire, innovation, renewal through action. And then white gold, which is going to be purity of intention, solar codes, and leadership of truth. Masculine energy has a lot to do with truth, whereas feminine energy has a lot to do with memory and intuition. Okay. Now, the covenant that the masculine flame makes, or the solar flame, let me call it a solar flame. The solar flame makes is to carry the flame of truth, to protect what is sacred, and to create in alignment with divine will. So these are usually the people who are doing the work to dismantle the simulation, doing the work to dismantle patriarchy, doing the work to sorry, doing the work with ancestors. Okay. Doesn't mean that you one or the other. Remember, I said both exist inside of you. But sometimes if you are super, super lunar, it could be hard for you to feel a connection with your ancestors. And that's not a bad thing. You're just tapping more into your star ancestors than your bloodline ancestors. Okay. Because right now we're talking about soul lineage. Right. But next episode, we'll talk about blood lineage. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Okay. And it's not a bad thing. Now, the guardians of the solar flame and the realms of the solar flame are going to have to do with Atlantis, ancient Kemet. Okay, so Egypt, and the Shambhala, which is inner earth. Okay, the Atlantean light architects, which are also called the golden architects, are grid workers and soul technology anchors. They're sacred builders of the crystalline structure and the grid templates, which is something we're going to talk about next episode as well. Okay. So you can call on them if you're doing that type of work, grid line work. And then you also have Thoth, whatever you want to call him, when he is in balanced form. Yes, that's the correct spelling, my love. But you have Thoth when he is in, I like saying Thoth. You say Thoth, whatever, potato, tomato. Okay. So when he's in his balanced form, also the Ra spirits. Ra was the sun god. Remember, the Ra spirits actually are part of the solar flame, and then the solar dragons. Because there's water dragons, there's solar dragons. Okay. Now, Thoth is supposed to be a wisdom keeper and a soul architect. Okay, in his purest form, not the distortion. In his purest form. Okay, because in the distortion, they say that he was where we get animal sacrifice from. Now, do you honestly think we ain't even going there? Okay. Wisdom keeper and solar architect. And then we get solar dragons, which are the builders of radiant timelines. They're fire bringers and they're planetary initiators in key soul systems. Okay. Then we get the lion elders, which are Lyrian and Syrian, and they're cosmic solar kings and queens is how we would understand it. Cosmic solar kings and queens, and they hold roar truth and protection. And I think sometimes when they come through, you can hear them roar, if I'm not mistaken. I think somebody who does, and I think it's more bloodline for her, but I'm not even 100% sure. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. But I love her content. Her name is Quatita Dean. Her content is a walk with the ancestors on YouTube, and she does like a lot of psychic reading. She does a lot of like channeling into spirits, and she also speaks to specific guardians who help you to dismantle the simulation. And I think she did a recent book called like the Melanite Crystalline Handbook or something like that. But her shit, like I through watching her content, she made me remember so much. She's a big part of me coming to these understandings, like a huge part of that. So if you don't watch her content, go watch her content. I think she has like 60K people on YouTube, but from what I understand, she would be considered like more like a solar flame. Okay. But I don't want to put that on her. Her name is Quatita. So it's Quatita, and then last name Dean, Dean. But if you just go to YouTube and you type in a walk with the ancestors, her content is really, really good. Okay. So then next you have the sky temples, the pyramid grid towers, and the solar gateways. So in that you have these eagle star beings. So I don't know if yes, Quatita is fire. Like I love her, and I love that she's always like giving. And I feel like for me, like when I look at her content, she's so misunderstood. Like sometimes you do have a right to protect yourself. Like that's what she actually came to me in a dream, and I wrote this on one of her pages or whatever, and was telling me I need to learn how to protect myself. Like discernment is a real thing, and I need to learn how to protect myself. And I was like, oh shit, and I didn't even realize that as a kid I had internalized that I wasn't allowed to protect myself because I was bigger than my brother. And so through that dream, I was like, oh shit. And it changed everything because then I started remembering, you know, and then I was like, oh, like everything started clicking into place for me. And then, I don't know, I was able to even understand some of the visions that I've had over the last 3 years that make no sense when you look at them separately. You know, she would say something and I immediately know this is truth. And I'll start getting a download or I'll start getting something. And it's just like, I was supposed to come across her content. So if you're not following her, she's definitely a good person to follow. And she also does like people who have passed away, like Michael Jackson, Prince, and all of them. And she tells what she channels from them of how they passed. And to me, that shit is interesting. You know, that's not something I would do, but I love that she do it because I love to be up in somebody's business. And to me, like I said, it is just an alternate perspective. You know, you never know if what's the fucking truth. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much. But she has amazing content. Her name is Quatita Dean, but you go to YouTube and type in A Walk with the Ancestors. Amazing content. Okay, that's probably one of my favorite people to watch on. Yes, it's definitely interesting. But it's one of my favorite people to watch because I'm a watch because I love that she goes live and she does live readings and stuff like that. I've even gotten a reading myself from her. And you know, before her, I was watching my old spiritual teacher who did lives and stuff, and that's who inspired me to do that. But I feel like Quatita gave me the courage to actually pull the trigger on that, which was pretty cool. But anyways, so yeah, I remember I told y'all that I had that astral projection where I met these 8-foot eagles, and I was like, they look like bald eagles, and they was 8 feet. Yeah. Well, when I came into remembering, those are actually eagle star beings. So I was not here. I was somewhere in the fucking stars, and they're overseers of planetary vision and clarity, and they oversee sovereignty and masculine guardianship. Okay, and then you have the ruby flame paladins, who are defenders of the innocent and the voice. And then I have, yes, I like a little mess now. I don't like to be in the mess, but I'll watch the mess from afar. You know, that's that type of shit you watch from a distance. That's me, embodied. Like, I don't want to be in the mess. It's none of my business for real. But at the same time, just give me the information and let me decide what to do with it. You know, maybe I could live vicariously through somebody else's shit, you know? So yeah, but then you have the ruby flame paladins are defenders of the innocent and the voice, and then you have the white flame paladins who are warrior priestesses and priests of truth and discipline and purity. Okay, now the gifts that you get from the solar flame are building and maintaining crystalline architecture, leadership rooted in love, not control, activating solar light bodies and other people, meaning like these are like walking fucking activators. And then anchoring the new earth structure through clarity and voice. Okay. Yes. Yes, my love. Just like that. A lot of these words are not going to be unfamiliar for you because sci-fi is the real world. Okay. You didn't hear it from me, but actually you did hear it from me. I stand on that. Okay, so you can call on any of those guardians that I talked about before for leadership, courage, like courage and leadership. Okay, for truth speaking, if you're struggling to speak your truth, for grid repair, for divine masculine balance, meaning like maybe you too ego, you too controlling, you too demanding, you know, or action rooted in love. If you want to make sure that your action is rooted in love, you can ask them to walk with you. You know what I'm saying? So names of some of these guardians, which are going to be the guardians of courage, voice, and sovereignty, are going to be Sekariel. It's like S-E-K-H, comma, Ariel. So Sekariel. Okay, I'm just going, y'all know I'm good for fucking up some names now. They know your heart though. Okay, so this is the solar lion guardian from the Lyran high flame quartz. Okay, he's the protector of sovereign voice. So if somebody's trying to stop you from speaking, yes. If somebody's trying to stop you from speaking, you can call on Sekariel. Okay. Next, you have Thalion. Okay. He is the flame of Paladin, the flame of Paladin of the White Gates. He's the guardian of truth activation and inner courage. So if you're struggling with courage and confidence, okay. Then you have Ramu. Ramu is a solar gate anchor. He's the builder of light structures and crystal grids in the ancient sun temples. And then you have Katarun, who is the guardian of the solar plexus codes and free will. Okay. Remember Matumbu, we talked about last time, the guardian you can call on for sovereignty, Katarun as well. Okay. He aids in breaking domination contracts. So if you feel like something is dominating you and something is speaking over you, something is controlling you, or you're not in control of your life, Katarun. Okay. And then you get the solar dragons, which are collective. Okay. And they're initiators of planetary cycles and defenders of the golden light corridors. All right. So let's talk about the mythology and people who are basically representative of these energies. All right. So Sekariel, the lion solar line, Sekhmet through the Egyptian pantheon, Durga through Hindu, the sun lions through the Chinese pantheon. And they're supposed to represent fierce divine protection, voice of justice, sacred flame protectors. Okay. The Thalian is going to be Michael, the archangel from church. Okay. Is more of Thalian's energy. And then, because they ain't going to give you the real Michael's energy. They ain't going to do that. He is way beyond this. You know, if you call him in his true essence, though, he will come. Fafnir in Norse, and they are righteous defenders, swords of truth, planetary guardians. Solar dragons are going to be Quetzalcoatl, which is the Aztec god. And if you watch my I did a series on astrology a while back on YouTube, and I talked about the correlation between the Egyptian gods, the Aztec gods, the Roman, Greek, whatever, just so that we can know who is who type of thing. And I think I talked about this Quetzalcoatl person. Fafnir, which is Norse, which I think is the counterpart to the Fafnir. And then it's the feathered serpent and the solar initiators. Okay, so some myths have corrupted their role, basically. Yes, exactly. And then we have Ramu, who is associated with the solar grid, and that's going to be Ra from the Egyptian pantheon. So when I say the Ra lines, I mean Ramu. Okay, but Ra from the Egyptian pantheon, Inti from the Incas, Surya from the Vedic. Surya is a man, or Surya, I think is the name. Solar architects and light bearers. And then you have Katarun, who is the wheel flame. So Aries in the Greek pantheon, Ogun from Yoruba tradition. Sometimes they are distorted into war gods, but that's not what they are. That's the distortion, is that they're the gods of war. That is distortion at its finest, because we're not supposed to be in a state of war. Masculine energy does not have to rule through force. Okay, so they were originally sacred protectors of sovereignty, not war gods. Okay, so when I say that, remember I said when I'm telling you these mythology people, they can either be distortions, they could be fragmentations, or they can be filtered through the patriarchy. Okay, so keep that in mind. Next, we have the Union Flame lineages. Which is the sacred marriage between the lunar and solar flames. A lot of us sit here, okay? A lot of us newbies who have come incarnated under this because we knew this time was coming, okay? And it don't necessarily just have to be lunar and solar. Like I said, you can have multiple flame lineages. You probably have lunar and solar lineages, along with union flame lineages, along with rose lineages. You probably have a multitude, okay? But this is when the lunar and solar flames come together, and it's called the eternal flame of creation. Okay, the essence of the union flame is the alchemic fusion of lunar and solar energies, creating a third path, which is divine wholeness, sacred sovereignty, and full remembrance. Excuse me. The flame arises when a being integrates light and shadow, meaning you gotta go back and do shadow work. You can't be all love and light. You got to be light and darkness. You got to be love, light and the parts that you rejected. Okay. Integrates when light and shadow integrate, embodies both softness and strength. And I told you that's what Quatita made me realize, that I can be soft, I can be compassionate, because I ain't no fighter. I will whip off into your ass, but I don't want to do that. That's the thing. The moment that I do that, I am mad at myself afterwards. I don't like that. Right. So you can be strong and also soft. Okay. Now, it heals division between the feminine and masculine within and walks as a sovereign creator and divine bridge. Okay. Now, I thought this was interesting just because I've been preaching the divine masculine and feminine energy being one energy for the last 2-3 years, right? Which is a sign of, if you resonate with the union flame, you probably are from Atlantis. Because you remember a time when we could live in balance. You remember a time where we could be compassionate, but also assertive. You remember a time when we existed that way, and there's been pain and suffering in this life, is because your body remembers, your mind doesn't remember. So you enter into a state of grieving. Okay. So the frequencies carried here are the rose violet, which is heart source fusion, divine love and motion. The diamond white flame, which is clarity, transcendence, and cosmic crystalline light. The amethyst gold, which is sacred teacher codes, and the wisdom flame. And then you have the rainbow or the iridescent flame, which makes me think about the rainbow children. Okay. Multi-lineage weaving and soul convergence. Okay. Now the covenant with the union flame is to merge what was split, to remember all, to create through love that burns without consuming. Okay. To merge what was split, to remember all, to create through love that burns without consuming. You're not supposed to be consumed by love. Okay. Now, guardians. Yes. Guardians and realms associated with the union flame are going to be the dream libraries and the corridor temples, which we talked about the dream libraries last time. So Matumbu, who is an earth sovereign keeper. He's the overseer of soul sovereignty and gatekeeper of free will. He's the guardian of soul contracts of bridges and earth's memory grid. Matumbu. Sarai, who is a dream mirror. She's the reflector of oversoul memory and convergence. Sarai is who I've been working with lately. You can't look this up, my love. This is not something, this is remembrance. This is not something you can find in the textbook. Okay. And I didn't mean to say it like that. I know that came off aggressive. I did not mean to say it like that. But Sarai is the dream mirror. Once you reach a specific resonance, Sarai will find a way to get to contact with you in this reality. In this reality. And we're in a digital age. So I just want to say that. Yes, that would be the lunar flame people who would help you, Vanessa. Okay. So Sarai is the dream mirror, meaning like she is meant to help you to remember the oversoul. Okay. In convergence. And then you have the rose violet flame entities who are activators of divine union within and without, midwives of divine union, cosmic love, and timeline weaving. Then you have the flame keepers of Lyra, of Andromeda, Vega, and beyond. Okay. And I actually read a book by, I think her name is Maureen St. Germain. It was called Waking Up in 5D. And she talked about the different star species. And she talked about like basically some of the things you would experience. Some of the things that you would experience if you were like some of the gifts that you would have if you were a part of these beings. And for some reason, I've always been called to Andromeda for some reason. And they don't actually see up here in the third eye. They feel in their body. They feel in they being, and I've always resonated with that. So that book is a really good book if you want to read a book. It's by Maureen St. Germain and it's called Waking Up in 5D. I think I've done some content on it before. But underneath the flame keepers of Lyra, Andromeda, Vega, and beyond, you have the Phoenix beings. Okay. And these are midwives of transformation and rebirth. And then you have rebirth through flame, which in soul alchemy through memory. Okay, these are the phoenix beings. Now, the union flame, underneath the union flame is the rose flame and the phoenix flame, which we're going to talk about briefly in a second, just kind of as their own separate thing. Okay, but they're a part of the union flame. Okay, because there's many lineages underneath the lunar flame, the solar flame, the union flame. Okay, then you have the Andromeda architects, who are designers of the crystalline balance temples. They divine balance designers, and they build harmony between races and timelines. And then you have the rainbow flame bearers, who are timeline restorers, merge fragmented soul aspects across lives. Okay, so the rainbow children, that's why they don't want them here. Right? Because they restore timelines, the timelines that have collapsed. Okay. And then you have the inner earth crystal palaces as well. Okay. Now, the gifts that actually come from the union flame are flame weaving, which is bridging timelines, souls, and grids, activating divine union and others, which is relationships, bodies, nations. Okay. And I just want to say this, it's already done. It's already done, but our choices do matter. And that's why I'm doing this. Okay. Because our choices help to catapult us towards dream restoration. Okay. To access dream fields and memory streams across dimensions. Okay. And then holding the original flame covenant in living form, meaning that you embody it. That original flame covenant that I read for y'all last time, I've lived my entire life like that. I don't know why. I don't know how. I've just been a person of integrity. I cannot be anything else. Okay. So you can call on these energies for soul convergence, for sacred union. So the inner and the outer worlds, bringing them into union, alchemic healing, timeline weaving, and oversoul embodiment. Okay. Oversoul embodiment. Some of the guardians who are guardians of healing, of union, and of alchemic integration are going to be Matumbu. Okay. I told you he's huge. He has like these really, really green eyes too. You can't, well, he light skinned though. He was light skinned to me. I don't know if he's gonna be light skinned to you, but he was light skinned to me. He had really, really bright green eyes, almost like a deep emerald. And it's like I knew him. It's like time slowed down. It's like almost like, you know, those scenes in movies where you see love at first sight and it's like all of a sudden time distorts and it starts to bend towards you in a way. That's how I felt. And it felt like truth. It's like, I know this person, you know? So he's the guardian of free will and oversoul sovereignty. He's the defender of soul contract corridors. And also, yes, slow motion. But also understand you can call on your oversoul too. You can call on your oversoul for anything. I talk to my oversoul. I call on my oversoul. Walk with me, please. You know? So then you have Sarah, who is the dream mirror, and she reflects the oversoul's convergence path across timelines, meaning like when you are ready to remember, she will show up. So pay attention to what's going on, the nudges that you get. Sometimes you don't necessarily know why you do what you do. Okay. Then you have Lianara, who is a phoenix priestess. She aids in full timeline transmutation and soul rebirth. Okay. Then you have Orlith, who is an Andromedan harmony architect, assists in soul weaving between dimensions and flame aspects. And then you have the Rose Violet Council, which is a collective. It's not one specific person that you call on, it's a collective. Okay. And they are flame braiders who walk between solar and lunar temples, and they activate divine union within and without. Now, mythology, distorted versions, fragmented versions, filtered through patriarchy versions. Matumbu, because the TUM is tomb, Matumbu, or sovereignty is Mayat from Egypt, Sophia from the Gnostics, the ancient days, the Kabbalistic, and they represent the law of truth, balance, cosmic justice, and soul memory. Sarah, or the dream mirror, is Lilith, pre-distortion. Okay, the oracle of Delphi, the mirror queen from the Celtic myths. Okay, They're architects of truth reflection, soul contract seeing, and inner alignment. This always makes me think about the mirror from Snow White. Okay. The Phoenix lineages, you have Benu from Egypt, you have Simirf from Persian, and you have Garuda from Vedic, and they're birds of transformation, timeline, timeline rebirth, and oversoul awakening. Then you have the rose violet flame, which is Mary Magdalene, Tara, Shekinah, and the Hebrew mystics. So they're flames of midwives, divine lovers, embodiment of source and union. Okay. But Mary Magdalene codes, the Mary Magdalene codes are being brought back through some of y'all right now. The Yahshua codes are being brought back to some of y'all right now, which is what we're going to talk about next time when we talk about bloodlines. Okay. Andromeda harmony is going to be, the harmony council is going to be Anahita from Persian, Pachamama from Andean, and they're interdimensional harmonizers, earth star balancers. And the earth star is actually what helps you to embody your oversoul as well. It sits 6 inches beneath your feet. So you know, you have the crown 6 inches above your head. The earth star is 6 inches below your feet. And it actually has to do with your womb. Okay. So if somebody messes with your earth star, they messing with your root chakra as well, because it also is associated with the root balance as well, but also your womb. And just a little tidbit of information that I like to throw on out there, sprinkle with y'all a little bit. The earth star of Earth, we can't go there. Okay. Antarctica. And the root of Earth is Mount Shasta. You think about all the paranormal activity that is going on there. And we also can't see what they're doing to the womb. But it causes the imbalance in the root chakra. All right, now, don't say I never told you nothing. Okay. So some additional guardians you can call on. So if you want a guardian of children or innocence, you have Shanira. Shanira is a lunar flame guardian of the crystal children. Okay. She builds soul shields around their dream field. So if you want to protect your children, call on Shanira. Okay. Then we have Elyrith, who is a star midwife of the rainbow ray children. So if you feel like you have a rainbow children, call on Elyrith. Okay. This is, I'm saying she, but this could be a she or a he, to be honest. Just follow me. Okay. She is a star midwife of the rainbow children. She works with soul color alignment. And then you have Takora. And Takora is the solar protector of sacred contracts and children incarnations. And she severs karmic overlays and distortions. Okay, Takora. Then you have Miralu. And Miralu nurtures the soul field of children in astro sleep. And she sings them through memory reattachment. And then you have the golden dolphins. I told y'all I have astro projected and I met a golden dolphin and I was like, what the fuck is this? Are dolphins supposed to be golden? You know, they kind of look like, Twilight, how when they go in the sun, they start shining and shit. That's what they fucking kind of look like. But they anchor joy, play, and soul protection around sensitive dreams. And you can also call on the golden dolphins for yourself. If you're struggling to experience joy in your reality, dolphins in general are meant to teach you how to play, to get back into touch with your childlike spirit. And that's why they act the way they act. Okay. They like water dogs. Okay. That's basically what they are. And dogs basically show us how to enjoy life again, but they're also protectors, whereas cats show us boundaries. Okay. But they're guardians of the spiritual realm as well. So think of cats as being like feminine energy, dogs being like masculine energy. Okay. Now, you also have the guardians of flame architecture and grid weaving, which are going to be Vashalor, and he's an Atlantean crystal architect. He rebuilds fallen grid points when called upon. You have Orintiel, who carries the codes of flame staff construction. So wands, sigils, or sacred tools. And you got to be careful with sigils because sigils hold entire stories. Okay. Sigils are how you kind of anchor energy. So if you Watch that episode that I told you, Supernatural season 1, episode 17, called Hell House, where they made that egregore. They had put an ancient symbol on the wall, which they were looking at all day, which caused them to be able to manifest something quickly in that space. Okay, so sigils. Don't you better off creating your own sigils than using somebody else's sigil if you don't know how to use it. But also, you got to think hieroglyphs. Though every single thing in the hieroglyph tells a story, that's why only we could read it. You have to be at a specific resonance to understand what it is. Okay, so he is one of the people who kind of is associated with that. Okay, and then you have Ilaria, who is a lunar flame anchor for temple codes beneath the Andes in the Pacific. You have Karethmon, who is an inner earth dragon guardian of planetary soul bridges. And then you have the Lion Triad. And the Lyran Triad is Secariel. And then you have Ilian. And then you have Zorel. Okay, those are the 3 beings. Okay, or you can just call them the Lyran Triad. They built the crystalline mesh for the new earth sovereignty. Okay, so you're trying to anchor a new earth, whatever the case may be, that's who you call. All right, so you have to understand that their names are keys. They are not to be worshipped or idolized, though. They awaken frequencies in your field. So you also don't want to expect for somebody to respond. You might get a response, but for the most part, they're just keys that unlock frequencies in your field. Okay, you are not invoking a force above you as well. Remember, these are soul kin. All right, they're also part of the Flame Council and also multidimensional lineages as well. Okay, so I didn't say archangel anything. I said Zoril. Okay, so they're not above you in any way. Okay, they're not above you in any way at all. Okay, they're not to be worshipped. They're not to be idolized, but you can call on them to activate specific energies. Hey, Bill. So to call on them, you say guardian and then insert their name. And I'm just going to tell you how to call on them, just so there's no confusion. I feel like you need to be clear in the way that you call them. But if you think that you know a better way, that is perfectly fine with me. I just want to give y'all some foundational information. Okay. So guardian Amara, I call to you as one who remembers if I carry your flame, because you want to call on people whose flame you carry. Okay, because that's why sometimes stuff that people is doing don't resonate with you. You know, I think Quatita calls on Yehuda, and Yehuda, although I feel like he helped me to completely reprogram everything, for some reason it feels like not that he's not my person, it just feels like I feel more closely aligned to Amara than I do Yehuda. Okay, so I call on you somebody who's remember. If I carry your flame, guide me now into alignment with my highest timeline and purpose. Okay. You can also place their name in a sacred place, write it in water, in salt, or crystal sand, speak it over your field with loving command. But please understand that they will not come to save you. They just reflect what already lives inside of you. Okay. Nobody's coming to save you. You got to take responsibility of your choices and of your life. Okay, you are the only person who is coming to save you. So if you ain't doing no saving, baby. All right now. Shit, this is long-winded. Okay. All right. How much I got left for this lesson? Oh, okay. A little ways. All right. So next, let's talk about the rose flame. Okay, the rose flame falls underneath the union flame, but I just want to expound on that, the earth flame, the star flame, and the phoenix flame just really quick. So the rose flame colors are rose gold, rose violet, and a bluish pearl, and the mission is to restore divine feminine dream field. Okay, a lot of Venetian people are operating through this rose flame. The gates that they hold is the heart grid, the womb portal, and the soul unions. Okay, the traits that they have is that they're born into trauma because they're meant to transmute ancestral distortion. The bloodlines that you chose are really important because they hold codes. So you chose them on purpose. Okay. And you needed to come in and clear the trauma, ancestral distortion, so that we can prepare for what's next. So do your shadow work. If you're not doing your shadow work, do your shadow work, do your shadow work, do your shadow work. Okay. But not only that, they activate others through just being in their presence. You know how sometimes your friend is not a crier, but all of a sudden they talk to you and they start crying? Or like how nobody makes you cry, but you call your mama and all of a sudden you're crying? That's what it means. Through presence, they activate different parts of you. Okay. But it doesn't happen through force, meaning like they're not trying to activate you. They're not trying to preach to you. They're not trying to teach you. Okay. These are going to be dreamers, healers, embodiment teachers, and doulas. If you're feeling a call towards doula, you probably are a part of the rose flame. Okay. This is remembrance, or they carry remembrance through emotion, through music, through beauty. Okay. I have a really, really strong rose flame lineage. Okay. Now, earth flame is going to be deep emerald, black gold, ruby brown. Remember, I said Matumbu has deep emerald eyes. He's here as an earth sovereign protector. Okay. The mission for him is to anchor in memory into, or mission for anybody who has an earth flame is to anchor memory into matter and to rebuild the new earth structures. Okay. The gates that are held here are the root grid, the crystal grid, and the ancient looms. Okay. Traits are going to be builders, grid workers, body workers, earth seers, having a strong connection to animals, lands, or elementals, often experience karmic ancestral weight, and they're here to kind of clear that. And they protect sacred land and forgotten temples as well. Okay. The star flame lineages are going to be silver blue flame, iridescent aqua flame, and the sapphire flame. The mission is to restore interdimensional access and cosmic memory. The gates that they hold are the throat, the pineal gland, and the oversoul channels. Okay, which are also chakra systems. So you have the major, the alta major chakra behind here, the chakras behind your knees. And there's a couple other ones too. Traits are going to be star seeds with high tones. So they're kind of dreamlike or crystalline in nature, meaning like they kind of just look ethereal in a way. They channel sound, movement, and galactic languages. So some of the people who are on here doing like light codes and light languages and stuff like that are star people, star flame people. They walk between dimensions and often experience isolation very early off in their life. And they reactivate planetary gate systems and star codes. Okay. And then you have the Phoenix flame lineages, which are deep crimson flame, the gold black flame, and the violet red flame. Okay. Their mission is to burn distortion and rebirth souls into authenticity. The gates that they hold is shadow alchemy, flame truth, timeline collapse. And their traits are that they are born into extreme trauma, extreme betrayal, or persecution loops. Okay. So some of y'all who had them narcissistic ass mamas. Okay. Alchemy, they are alchemists, destroyers of false identity, and initiators. And they walk alone at times. They're often seen as being too raw or too intense for people, but they turn their own wounds into a flame that awakens other people. Okay. So that one's a pretty hard one. The Phoenix that comes from the ashes type of energy. Okay. So how do you interact? How do these lineages kind of interact with each other? What you need to understand is they're not separate. They're not categories placed in a box, even though I just gave them to you separately. They're not really separate. Everything is on a spectrum. Okay. They are currents, and most flame holders are going to carry a primary energy, a secondary energy, and an integrated path. Okay. For example, I am a union flame for sure. Or I would really say rose flame lineage, but I resonate with union flame, and I have really, really strong lunar base codes, the dream walking, the remembrance, right? But I'm rising right now through solar embodiment, which is leadership and sovereignty and voice, which is masculine solar flame, So you can be multiple things. You don't just have to be one. Okay. And so the last two things that I want to talk about. One, I want to talk about some of the flame lineages that tend to struggle, or some of the flame holders that tend to struggle. They kind of fall into identities. And I want to talk about what those are, because I feel like a lot of us feel like we're struggling or we don't fit in or whatever the case may be. So I kind of want to tell you what flame holders, people who have specific aspects of their flame, where they struggle, why they struggle, to try to help some of us out, because I think I've been fell into all of these identities before. And then I also want to talk about what a flame activation looks like. Okay, just so you know. And then that's it for today, because I've been yapping for hours. It's only been like an hour and 30 minutes, but still. Okay, so the flame holder identities who struggle are going to be the activists. Okay, these are the truth tellers. They're the breakers of the illusion. They're the voice of collective memory. Okay, you're just not advocating for what's happening at this time. You're advocating for ancestral grief. Okay, my YouTube page is Big Taj with 2 J's. Okay, so the positive aspects of this activist flame energy is that you're courageous and you're deeply moral and you ignite awakening and you hold space for justice and remembrance, right? The shadow side of this is that you become angry, that you become burnt out. And I think about when they were doing nothing, saying nothing about Palestine, and every video I was seeing was somebody who was angry and who was crying and who was distraught, right? That's the shadow side of this activist energy. All right. You start to feel like you are unheard. You start to feel like people are attacking you. You may turn rigid. Okay. You could be self-sacrificing. So sometimes you can take on that martyr energy as well. Or you can be disconnected from joy. Now, I remember I was in this energy a couple years ago, right before I got attacked with the black magic. Spirit kept telling me I was self-sabotaging. I cannot be a martyr. I cannot be a martyr. And I did not listen. And I kept going and kept going. And I kept trying to expose the elites. I kept trying to post things that was hidden. You know, I kept attacking until I got my motherfucking ass handed to me. Okay. You are not supposed to be the martyr, because if you jump in front of a bullet and you die, who is going to do the work that you came here to do? Okay. Support, nurture, and care for other people is built on the foundation of self-love. There is a way to do things, is what they told me. There is a way to do things where you are not out of alignment. Okay. There is a way to do things. Okay. So people who have this activist flame, their flame is really hot and it's very necessary, but it's often being judged by other people. But what they're here to do is to burn the lies clean. Y'all are here to scorch it on down. All right. But there's a way for you to do that. There's a way to not do that. And that's where human design comes in. Y'all know that I'm a human design coach. It teaches you how to get into energetic alignment with your energy, how to properly use your energy. If you don't know how, get a human design reading. Okay. Now, next is the guardian. These are the protectors, the stabilizers, the energetic shields for other people. They tend to be the ones who don't like bullies. And all of a sudden they're speaking up for the people who don't want to speak up for themselves. Like, these is guardian energy. Okay. The positive side is that you're grounded, you're loyal, you're fiercely loving of other people. I feel like my brother falls up in here. Provide safety and anchoring for their community. Anybody say anything to any one of my family members, and my brother is off the handle. He is off the handle. He doesn't care. If you say something to somebody, he probably won't give it. If it's a black person, he flying off the handle as well. You know? So that guardian energy sometimes on the shadow side can be overprotective. It can be isolated, and it can be emotionally numb at times too. And sometimes they forget to protect themselves and become resentful and drained as well. Okay. Their flame surrounds other people. It literally provides protection for other people, but it's rarely seen. Okay. They struggle when they believe that their light is only for other people. They're also meant to protect themselves. And sometimes this guardian energy, will take it on the chin for themselves. But if you fuck with somebody around them, they is guns a-blazing. I think I'm this way about my brother. You can do anything else around me. I won't even protect. If you say something to me, I'll probably just shrug that shit off. But you say something to my brother, I'm a tyrant. Okay. That's that side of my flame igniting. Right. So these are just identities of flame lineages. Okay. Then you got the sacred clown or the trickster flame. And you might think clown, oh my gosh, whatever. Don't take it like that. We don't take it with the negative connotation. It's the trickster party of flame, right? And it can disrupt illusions through humor, through chaos and reversal. The positive side is that it brings It brings longevity. It's truth in disguise or joyful disruption. And it teaches through play and inversion. Okay. The class clowns. Okay. The shadow side is self-sabotaging. It's chaotic at times. Sometimes it avoids depth through distraction. So you know them people who can't never take nothing serious. And just like, damn, like I'm not playing right now. Listen to what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to be deep about something or serious about something, and they teach through, like I said, playing inversion. But oftentimes they end up not being taken serious or seen as a stable energy. So their flame disorients things to kind of reveal clarity. So you know how like J. Cole said, every joke got some truth to it. This is their energy. Okay. But it often suffers in silence and it's unseen beneath the silence, or the pain is unseen beneath the jokes. Meaning like the people who usually making you happy, the people who usually cracking the jokes, the people like sometimes when I look at them, it's so much sadness in their eyes. It's so much sadness in their eyes. And you know, they've taken on this role of trying to make sure that everybody was good. And they do that through humor, you know, which is a part of their flame that ignited, but it can cause internal suffering. So if you the friend who make everybody laugh, you know, and you hurting, find somebody you can talk to. Because I also been that person as well. I'm goofy as the hell. I'm very, very goofy, but I was a sad, sad, sad person for a big part of my life. Okay. So next you have the exiled flame, and these are the holders of ancient memory, often forgotten or erased. I have a client who is like this. But it is the positive side is that they have deep wisdom, they have sacred knowing, they have an embodiment of ancestral codes, they restore lost lineages. Okay. But the shadow side is that they feel invisible, they feel disempowered, they struggle to trust other people. Okay. And they may feel isolated, betrayed, or silenced repeatedly. So they will start to feel like what their perspective is not important. Okay. This flame burns quietly, meaning like they tend to be very, very quiet people. They tend to live their life in the shadows or under the weight of the world. And they struggle, or the struggle for them is rooted in being erased and still choosing to remember, meaning like they're not going to conform, you know, because they have these they hold these ancient codes, so they're not going to conform, but they just kind of fade into the background a little bit. Okay. Hey Andrika. Then you have the mystic flame, and the mystic flame are direct communicators with the oversoul, source, in multidimensional realms. The positive side is that they end up being clairvoyant, they end up being prophetic, they end up being deeply attuned people. They bring downloads and maps and deep soul truths. Okay. The shadow side is sometimes they can dissociate from like this reality, they can be ungrounded. They also can be misperceived by other people as being delusional because we don't live in a reality that kind of supports what we're talking about right now. And they may neglect their bodies, they may lose track of linear time or fear their own power in a way. Because mystics are like researchers, they're really, really down that rabbit hole real fucking deep, you know, and sometimes they can be ignoring their body or like be down a rabbit hole for 4 hours, then all of a sudden their fucking head is hurting and they can't sleep that night because their head is pounding, like that type of thing is what I mean. But their flame is here to pierce the veils. But they often tend to burn alone. Okay. So they struggle when they're not believed or they feel too different to belong. Next, you have the seducer flame, and this is the bringer of magnetic aliveness, sensual energy, and creative ignition. I have friends like this. But the positive side is that they inspire beauty, awaken passion, draw people into their presence. They're healers through love and embodiment. But the shadow side is that they, Jesus, why I keep turning into a man? The shadow side is that they use seduction for control or validation. Okay. They lose their identity and desire, and they also may struggle with boundaries, addictive dynamics, or shame as well. Okay. This flame does not just glow, it pulls, it magnetizes, but it burns when it's not wielded with sovereignty. Okay. Now that seducer flame. All right now. And then the last one that kind of struggles is the griever flame. And it's a heart-centered transmuter of collective sorrow and soul loss. So people who have this griever flame energy are people who hold the collective memories. And so they came here grieving. And they didn't realize why they're so sad or why they so, and it's because they're supposed to be restoring this space, right? The positive side of this energy is it creates space for healing, ritual, and remembrance. It brings softness, compassion, and heart alchemy. But the shadow side is that you start to drown in those fucking emotions. Okay. You identify really heavily with suffering. You feel unseen, and you may often even attract pain without knowing how to release it. Okay. This flame weeps for the world, and its gift is really, really real, but it struggles when it forgets that grief is not an identity. It is a doorway. You have to alchemize it. You have to put it somewhere. You have to look at it. You have to heal it. Okay. This is something I struggle with massively throughout my life. Flames come in many forms, and the brighter the flame, the more complex the path. Okay. Each of these energies transmute the world around us when we know how to operate within alignment with these energies. Okay. So I say again, human design changed my life. I spent my whole life being frustrated, operating out of alignment, not understanding my energy. But the moment that I actually understood, I could do something about it. And that's why I offer human design readings. I offer mommy and me readings if you have kids, tell you how to parent your kids. I did one of those this morning. I offer mini readings as well if you don't just want to dip your toe in. And then I also offer energetic profiles where I look at your 5 life path numbers. I look at astrology. I look at human design. I tell you what your strengths, your weaknesses are, and your purpose is. And then I come up with goals and a strategy. I send you a shit ton of resources of things that can help you to get there. Okay. But that's as far as I can do. You got to do the work. I also am a spiritual mentor. Why? Because that's important. I also share knowledge on my channel. Why? Because that's important. Knowledge leads to expanded awareness. Everything that I do is very, very intentional for what I'm here to do. And that's to wake us up. Now we finally able to have the conversation because my memories is coming back. Okay. So how do you know if you're in a flame holder awakening? Okay. You have sudden soul memories of temples, of stars, of water, of fire, or of symbols. For me, I don't even know how to explain these, but what I'm having visions of is like bridge temples where half of it is concrete, half of it is like a clear quartz aqua crystal thing, and it projects you into different timelines. I'm having that. I also am seeing temples with huge crystals sitting in the middle of those temples. I've seen a violet flame one. But stuff like that. Okay. And then intense emotional releases tied to earth or children, magnetism to sound, light, song, or sacred movement. For the last 3 years, I've been sleeping with frequencies every single night. And I've been obsessed with sound healing. I got Tibetan bowls for Christmas this year, you know? So sound is feminine energy, and it helps to heal your crystalline DNA. So, feeling different in childhood or longing for home, feeling like you don't belong here, deep desire to serve others through love, clarity, and truth, and unexpected dreams or visions of ancient lineages, which is my time in Atlantis. Okay. Clarity and your need to knows are kind of like, okay. So that's basically how you know if you have a flame awakening. Let me see. Is this the last part of this? Yeah. So the last part I want to go over is what you need to kind of understand about flame lineages while we're talking about it, all of that. So first I want to give some clarity though. Covenant, what you need to understand about the covenant is that you are the covenant. Meaning like it's not something that you believe in, it's something that you embody. You're not just a follower of it. The flame covenant is not a book or a ritual that you recite. It is braided into your oversoul. Okay, so it moves through your breath, through your voice, through your tears, through your rage, through your silence. It is a vow that you have embodied. Okay, it lives in your refusal to abandon your innocence. Like I told you, I refuse to change the way that I love just because somebody couldn't receive it. That is me being the covenant. I am the thing. It's not something outside of me. Okay, your fierce protection of truth, your longing to restore beauty and balance, your knowing that creation is sacred. So you don't need to practice the covenants that I've discussed today. You already are it. You just need to make sure you're in alignment with your truth. Okay. Also need to understand that the flame lineages are returning in clusters. Okay. So you were never meant to walk alone, and you're not alone. A lot of us hold the same oversoul energy. A lot of us hold the same flame energy. Okay. Many flame bearers are activating now in waves. Okay. And they're often going to be drawn together. That's why a lot of people are feeling like they need to do soul work. A lot of people are seeing synchronicities. A lot of people are having shared dreams, right? I shared on my last live that I had a dream about something, and somebody was like, oh my gosh, I had that same dream, right? Grief or righteous anger, meaning like people are getting upset about what is the state of the world, right? And then also all of a sudden you love things, or you love life, or you love people, and it makes no logical sense to you. Okay. If you just start meeting random people and they feel familiar to you, that is your flame responding. That is your flame responding to theirs. Okay. You are a part of a living constellation, and you are reigniting across timeline. Okay. Hey, Shay Shay. Also understand that flame carriers awaken through contrast. Okay. So if you have asked yourself, why was my life so intense? Why was my life so heavy? Why was my life so painful? It's because flame bearers often awaken through injustice, which burns the covenant alive again, right? It wakes you up through distortion, which activates your remembrance, because you like, all of this is a lie. Wait a second. You start to see the truth in things. And then loss itself carves out space for light, and trauma becomes the fate to soul convergence. You need these things to wake you up. Okay? This is not punishment, it's purification. The fire clears what the soul no longer needs, meaning that you were asleep before and now you're up. So you need to when you wake up, you need to get the trash out. You need to clear the room so that you have space for more light to come in. Okay? The flame does not burn to destroy, but to reveal. And what it reveals is that you were always a sacred being. Your body is a sacred temple. You were always sovereign, and you were always chosen because you chose yourself. How do you choose yourself? You show up authentically. That's how you choose yourself. Okay? You do not have to earn your flame. The old system says you must be perfect. You must suffer. You must heal everything before you are worthy. That is not true. That is distortion. Okay. What the flame tells you is that you are already a sacred flame. You are remembering, you are not becoming. There is nothing to earn here, only to ignite. So even in your grief, even in your mess, even in your doubt, the flame still burns inside of you. How do you make it more alive? Joy. Experience joy. Experience joy. Experience joy. Joy is a sacred force. Have you ever seen Inside Out? Okay. What happened when joy is not around? When joy is not at the head of the table, what happens? Anxiety spazzes the fuck out. Anger imitates joy. Joy is a sacred force. It is not just a thing. Joy activates your fire. You have to seek joy every single day. That's why they can't snuff black people out, because we got too much joy. Okay. Now, I hope you hear me. Also understand that flame bearers do not lead, they embody. Okay. They don't lead, they embody. The only reason why I'm doing this in a teaching format is because, and I'm not doing it in front of a microphone. The reason why I'm not doing it in front of a microphone, because I don't want to. I'm done. Like in these last couple weeks, months, I don't want to teach. Meaning like sitting in front of the microphone, doing those spiritual intelligence, doing that astrology, numerology. I don't want to do it that way. I'd rather just get on live, chat with y'all real quick, post that shit for y'all to go back and watch it. Okay? You don't need to teach. You don't need to preach. You just need to embody the thing and show people what it looks like. Okay? So people whose flame is igniting, they may feel the call to teach or speak or guide, which has been the last 3 years of my fucking life, right? Way more laid back vibes. Exactly. Not so rigid and stuck and gross. When I think about it now, it's like, girl. But now I get it though. Now I get it. I needed to feel that in order for me to activate my own flame. You know? So if you feeling the call to teach or speak or guide or lead, what you need to understand is that flame bearers lead by vibration, not position. Okay? You need to be it. You need to become it. Okay? Your walk, your integrity, your alignment. That is you teaching other people. All right? So in short, work on your own frequency. Work on your own frequency. Okay? And embody the example of the change that you want to see. Because people do not follow flame bearers. They are remembering themselves around them. And that is the true gift. I can't tell you how many times I get somebody in this chat who's like, oh my gosh, Josh, you made me remember this. Every time I talk to you, I remember this or I remember that. I remember activator key. That's what they are, activators. Like I just told you, Quatita. I was listening to her content one day and I had a vision that I had no idea how to make sense of this vision until she said something. And it was like, holy shit. And Spirit was like, that is what you needed to hear. That's the thing. It helped me to understand who I am spiritual on an oversoul level. So you activate the people around you when you stand in your authenticity. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be you. That's it. And have fun. Experience joy. If the rent ain't getting paid tomorrow, fuck it. Fuck it. It'll get paid when you get it. And if you end up being pushed out of this place, figure it out. Shift gears. Adapt. You know? So, next, your flame will ask for integration, not perfection. Your flame will ask for integration, not perfection. Okay? There will be times where your flame burns bright and times where it kind of flickers. This doesn't mean that you failed at something. It just means that the flame is teaching you softness, not just sovereignty. You know, rest, not just work. It shows you how to rest, how to forgive, how to be held, and also how to let go. So you can't be in this go, burning bright all the time. It's not realistic. That's how you get to burn out. That's us being in that solar flame energy distortion because we've been going. We told by society, reach higher heights, and all of us are fucking burned out. Okay. Now, the greatest flame bearers are those who can integrate power and gentleness, joy and grief, clarity and mystery, meaning you don't need the fucking answers to everything. Some things are just meant to be processed. Some things you're just meant to worry about, meaning wonder, not even worry, wonder about. You do not need all the answers. Okay? You do not need to take on grief as a personality trait. I did that. I thought grieving and depression was just who I am. I was running around telling everybody I've always been depressed and anxious my whole life. I was creating it. You don't need to do that. You need a balance between the two. You need to integrate the power of both things. Know when to do each thing. Know when to act. Okay? We have seen this in so many movies, right? The character that always has to do the right thing, right? Do right by everybody. What's his name? The Stark that got his head on a pike, his ass. Okay? And find another way to honor we always have to find another way to honor everybody. Like even the Avatar Aang, no, we can't take this path because somebody's going to get hurt. And it's like, no, we have to do this. And they're like, no, we're going to find another way. Like, I don't know if y'all seen, I think it's like Hot Shot or some shit like that. It's like a TV show on Netflix as well. And the sister ends up taking over the family business. I probably said that shit wrong, but, or time, it has something to do with time or shot or a clock or something. But the movie where the person always takes the higher path, the higher road, whatever, finds another way. Okay. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to make sure that you are in balance. You're integrated. Okay. And then flame carriers can reactivate Earth's grids and their memory fields. Okay. So your words, your tears, your steps and laughter, because tears are portals, by the way. Okay. Can reweave ancient flame codes back into the land. Okay. The earth recognizes your vibration. So it's so important that you are your original vibration because you was made perfect for what you came here to do. But you came into polarity consciousness, which means you had to go into separation. That's that being rejected. That's that feeling unseen and unheard. You were never meant to stay there, though. Get up, friend. It's time to get up. Okay? When you speak from the flame, when you create love, when you sing, or when you grieve in alignment, you are restoring the dream fields. And you don't always have to know what you are doing or what you're activating. The soul knows. And the covenant that you are responds accordingly. So just do what you enjoy doing and create the life that you actually like. Don't feed into the distortion. Don't feed into fear, because you got to eradicate all of the fear first. You got to trust your instincts. You got to trust yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to realize that if those people cannot see you, you're not the problem. They're the problem. Get new people around you. Stop internalizing as if it's something wrong with you. You are perfect. You've always been perfect. Fuck them people. Okay? Go where you're received. Sometimes family has nothing to do with blood lineage. Sometimes family is soul lineage. Go find your soul family. You needed that family because you needed those codes, because you're here to activate those codes. It don't have to be more than that. If they abusing you and harming you, especially if you that Phoenix Flame lineage, leave them fucking people where you found them. Don't get stuck on the idea of what you should have had, because they sell you that dream. So when you don't have it, because most of us don't, you fracture. Your identity falls apart. You think you're supposed to have something that you didn't get, but you had exactly what you were supposed to get, and you chose it yourself, whether you know it or you don't know it, because you needed that specific bloodline for what it is you came here to do. It's almost like I don't know if y'all ever seen the show Travelers. You know, somebody about to pass away, and then right before they pass away, another being comes to do some sacred work in their body, that type of thing. You know, it's kind of like that, but from birth. You like, this family is kind of toxic, but also I need to alchemize ancestral trauma within this family in order for us to raise the consciousness, raise the grid, right? Because it only takes one to break the curse. That's why I say fix yourself, heal yourself. Stop worrying about them people. Fix and heal yourself. Become the embodiment for other people. And when you do that, your resonance is going to do the work of fixing them. You don't have to do nothing. Okay? So you say this family's traumatic, but you know what? I'm the perfect person to come in and fix all this shit. Was you in pain? Yes. Was it intense? Yes. Stand up though. Because you knew before you came here that you was perfect, but then you came into an area of distortion and you let these people tell you something wrong with you. All you do is got to choose differently. All you do is got to stop believing that. I get asked all the time, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Be happy. Seek joy. Have fun. Go where you received. If they causing you pain and suffering, why the fuck is you over there? Do you like pain and suffering? Your emotions are your first line of defense, your first guide in this reality. They are telling you, I like this or I don't like this. If you are having a good emotional experience, you feel filled up, you love these people, you can't wait to hang out with them again, them is your people. But if every time you go back over there and you feeling rejected or unseen, like you got to be silent, you can't speak up for yourself, you can't be yourself fully in front of you, got to wear a mask. You almost got to mentally prepare to even go over there. What the fuck are we doing? Stop it. Just stop. Yeah, but it's my mama, but it's my this. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Your attachment to these people is what they have sold you through the dream. Sometimes you didn't. You got to look at the evidence. Are they able to meet your needs? Are they able to meet your needs? That is the question. Do you want to repair the relationship? Is it repairable? Because in order for a relationship to be repairable, that means two parties have to be in agreement. They have to be just as willing as you are. And if they can't hold themselves accountable on their side, then you need to go into separation. And if they come back and now they're able to hold themselves accountable and you still want that, fine. But you have to choose you. It's time for you to choose you. It's time for you to focus on you. Stand up. Nobody is coming. You are what was sent to come. You are what's coming. Figure out who that person is. What do you like? What don't you like? Do more of what you like. Do less of what you don't like. If the job is stressing you out, quit that motherfucker. Because if you die tomorrow, they probably ain't even going to send you funeral flowers. They're going to put that post up real quick. And it's like, well, what do I do? Because I'm supposed to survive in this environment. You know, the last couple of years of my life that I was working for somebody, I was hitting the ground running at night. I was treating that like that was a place that was going to get my needs met. And I stopped doing 100%. I stopped trying to prove myself because I knew I wasn't staying there. I stopped doing 100% because my 100% is they 20% any fucking way. So I just dialed it back a little bit and I focused more on the things that I wanted to create. I saved some of that energy for me. And I started doing the pod. I would be up to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning doing the podcast. One day I posted a video on TikTok shop at 2 o'clock in the morning after I was up doing the podcast and I had to be up at 8 o'clock. And I posted a video that went viral on TikTok shop. One of the first TikTok shop videos I ever made. Changed my life in seconds. And if I would not have been building my own dream, I wouldn't even be up to post it when I posted it. I wouldn't have even been in the energy to say what I was saying because I was cleaning my face. I was washing my face and I was just like, let me just make a post about this real quick because this has been helping me. Trust yourself because everything that you need is inside of you. You do not need to call anybody else to ask them what you should do. You are living this experience, not them. They only can tell you what they should do. They can never tell you what you should do. You can only tell you what you should do. Stop relying on other people. The vision is given to you because you are the perfect person. Trust yourself. Be confident in your decision. The decision itself does not matter. Once you choose, pick a decision and then stand 10 toes behind that decision. Make sure it comes true. Believe that you can bring it to life. Start working on the things that you can do right now to get you closer to the goal. Bye, Amaris. Stop worrying about all the things that are going to go wrong because fear is intangible and so is faith. Neither one of them are a tangible thing that you can hold in your hand. You get to choose. So you might as well choose having faith because fear is false evidence appearing real. That is the illusion that you're trying to crack. That is the matrix, is the fear. So make a choice. Who you want to be, what you want to do. Go after that. Your destiny is whatever you choose it to be. It is unveiling in front of you based off of how in alignment you are with yourself, meaning that make decisions based off of how things make you feel. Stop thinking that your emotions are an identity trait. They are not an identity trait. Hey, Smoker Hunters. They're not an identity trait. They're telling you, move towards this or move away from this. This is a yes, this is a no. And confusion is a no. And if it's a no, you need a boundary. Next time this appears in my reality, I'm going to do this. A boundary is not a demand. A demand is you trying to tell somebody else how to show up. You can't control nobody but you. Next time this happens, I'm going to do this. So that means nobody can ever really cross your boundaries because a boundary is something you're supposed to be doing. Respect my boundary. Respect my boundary. If they're not respecting your boundary, why is you even over? You don't tell them to respect your boundary. You set the boundary. They're going to either respect it or not respect it. If they respect it, good. That's a yes. That makes you feel good. But if they don't respect it, that's a no. You don't try to make them respect it. Either they do or they don't. And if they don't, walk away. They don't deserve access to you. Nobody should feel entitled to your space, your time, your access. I don't care what they think their status is. Well, I'm your mom. I'm your dad. Thank you for the codes. Needed them. See you later. And be strict about you. Because if you're not loving yourself, that means you loving other people more than you loving yourself. That's fucked up. That's self-neglect. If you switching other people's burdens out for yours, meaning like you don't really got the money, but they can't pay their rent and they want the money, but it's your last and you ain't going to be able to eat for 2 weeks. If you give them this money and you give them that money, that is self-betrayal. Why are you doing that? Why are you exchanging their burden for your burden? That's their problem to figure out. You just made it yours. Why? Because you're trying to prove that you're a good sister, a good brother, a good lover, a good cousin. Why do you need to prove that? Either you are or you're not. And you don't prove that to people by doing something. You never have to do anything to prove that to people. But you feel like you need to because you're really trying to prove it to yourself. Either you are or you're not. You don't have to tap dance for other people. Show up for you now. Do the work for you now. Forgive for you now. Why? Because you don't want to carry that emotion with you where you're going. Don't worry about them. A lot of people get stuck in making the perfect choice because they're too busy trying to please everybody. Well, my mama says she really want me to do this, but I really want to be a hairstylist, but she's telling me I need to be a doctor, so I need to be a nurse, so I got to go to nursing school, but maybe I can just do makeup on the side. But this is making you more money. This is where your passion is. This is what you want to do. But you're doing this because you want to please mama and you miserable. And now you're in debt. Why? She had a chance to create her life the way that she wanted to create it. Why I made sacrifices for you. I did this. I wasn't with you in that bed, girl. I was not rolling around in that sack with you. You created a portal. I walked through it. I didn't tell you to sacrifice for me. That's something you did. That's poor planning on your part. Let me not say that. That's fucked up. But do you hear me? It's time for us to do the work. It's time for us to wake up. It's time, and we don't have to do. When you are living a life that you want to live and you are living authentically, you do not have to do anything but exist. That's it. Be happy. Experience joy. Try new things. If you don't know who you are right now, try something new. Learn something new. Go take a pottery class. Go do some Pilates. You don't like exercising? Go to the park. Sit and read a book. But explore yourself. Figure out who you are. Which means that if that job ain't working, get another one. And if that one ain't working, get another one. And if that one ain't working, get another one. Until you find what you like. I've worked in every single industry imaginable. And I had my grandparents who had, at the same job for 40, 50, 60 years. She just don't know what she want to do. Well, I'm going to find it. I know whatever it is, I ain't about to just pick something to be miserable. Turns out I do got my head on straight. I'm doing this. Now I get to chill with y'all. That's it. I just get online and I talk to people. That's it. Breadwinner of the family. So do what it is that you want to do because your soul is perfect for your desires. You have everything that you need for the desires that you have. But do you have the courage and do you have the confidence? And if you don't, call on some of them guardians. You don't have to walk alone. Trust yourself. Stop asking other people. They not you. Love yourself. Have fun. Live life. It's too short to be building somebody else's dream, killing yourself because somebody don't see you. Go towards people who do see you. That's what I did. That's how I built this platform. I stopped talking to people who made me feel unseen, who made me feel rejected, who made me feel like I was fucking crazy and I was always thinking too deeply into stuff and I take stuff too serious and all of that. And I started talking to people who actually celebrated me for that shit. And it changed my life. It can change your life too. You just need to pull the trigger. So I'm telling you, friend, get up. It is time. You ventured to the extremes. You know? Now let's seek balance. All right. So next time, what we're gonna be talking about is understanding the grids. We're gonna talk about some codes that come through bloodline lineages. Okay. Do I have what else? What else do I want to talk about? We're also gonna start talking about Eden codes, Sophia codes. Sophia codes are the oldest codes, but Eden codes as well. The Eden frequency. And then I think we'll start talking about the creation of the original dream field, which is Lemuria. Okay. That was the original dream field, was Lemuria. Okay. So I think we'll start talking about that next time as well. As I stated before, this is going to be on my YouTube because since I went live with YouTube already up, so this should be posted on YouTube within minutes of me getting off of live. Okay. I already put the title and everything that I needed to. I set it all up, so it should be available in my TikTok live section. But yeah, if you need to watch it again, watch it again. I would suggest it. Take some notes if you want to. I know I went through it kind of fast, but it's only because I got a client in an hour. This is every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 3 Central, 4 Eastern. Okay. Every Wednesday. This is the conversation we having. And if you miss it, it's going to be on my YouTube. Just make sure you share it with 3 people. You like, you comment, you do all the things. Okay. I will be taking notes, period. Let me answer the question that I have in my Patreon, because you know I'll answer questions from my Patreon. Does going through experiences provide navigation of flames since they are on one spectrum? I do not understand what I don't under. Laura, what you mean by that? Does going through experiences provide navigation of flames? Does going through experiences provide navigation of flames? Since they're on one spectrum. Meaning, like, do you go through different flames when you go through different experiences? This is what I think you mean. And if that is the case, yeah, because we are constantly changing energy. We're constantly this energy and that energy, but we don't have access based on what flames you exist. Probably don't have full access to all of the energies. Otherwise, you would be just fucking overloaded. But I think there are specific energies that we go through all as a collective, kind of together. And what I mean by that is, like, we're constantly cycling between the 1 and 9 energy. So the 1 to 9 energy, which is the 1 energy is kind of pioneering. The 2 energy is about service and all knowing, but it's also sacrificing. The 3 energy is about creation. The 4 energy is about building, set the foundation. The 5 energy is about freedom and liberation. The 6 energy is about nurturing and caretaking. The 7 energy is about learning and the philosopher. The 8 energy is about abundance and releasing the self-imposed limitations to get towards abundance. The 9 energy is about death and rebirth. We're constantly going through cycles of that. Okay. And sometimes we're holding different energies all at one time because we're multifaceted, multidimensional. So when I say it exists on one spectrum, I'm not saying that you're always at one place in that spectrum at one time. I'm saying that there's a multitude or infinite possibilities. And you were sent here to explore one of those possibilities. And then the person next to you was sent there to explore the next possibility. So for example, when I look at you and your twins energy, you only have one thing different from each other. So y'all basically have the same mission, the same everything, except for her energy is her. Let's keep this the same, but what if we do it this way this time? And then there's another person who is like, that was good, but what if we do it that way next time? It's almost like a numbering system. Like, you know how like you go to, say for instance, you work at an insurance company, right? And every single time you get a policy holder, you get a new policy number. But all of y'all are collecting numbers throughout the state. So you could get a policy number for somebody right here, and the person next to you 5 minutes later close a policy, and it'd be so different from this number because everybody from around the world is getting policy numbers. You know, it's kind of like that. So it's not the exact same. And it doesn't mean just because y'all are born in the same place that y'all gonna get the same policy number. I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense, child. I hope that made sense. Okay. But that's the answer. Okay. You can be experiencing a multitude of different flames at one time. You're supposed to bring them into balance. Okay. I love y'all. I might be on here tomorrow. Thank you, boo. I love y'all. I might be on here tomorrow. Just to kick the shit. I got some readings to do in the morning, early morning. And then I think I got a mini reading tomorrow. And then I don't think I have a client until 5 o'clock. So I might need to burn some of that time up in between. So yeah, I might be on here tomorrow, but if I'm not, again, this is going to be posted on YouTube. I love y'all deep, and I'll talk to y'all later. Alrighty. Okay. Bye, YouTube. I'm sorry that I'm constantly looking up here. Next time I'm gonna be better at looking at y'all. All right. So yeah, have a good rest of y'all day.